Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Chatting with Nuts. This is number 98, getting oh so close to 3 digits. But tonight, I am so fortunate to be welcoming back somebody to BookTube, but also just to Chatting with Nuts. It's been, I think, almost 4 years since she's been on the show, but she was one of my very first friends in the book community, and that is Rid from Riddbooks. Rid, how are you?
I am doing so well, and I just pulled up the chat for the video, and it's playing a really loud ad.
Oh, it's the worst.
Let me figure out how to turn this off.
But don't skip the ad. I need the money. I need it bad.
I know. I know you do, because I just signed up for your Patreon again.
Oh, yes, that is right. You are in there talking about Dagger and the Coin, which I'm going to have to ask you about later, because you're now one of 9 people who have read some of the series. So it's a very small, dedicated group of us. But yeah, it is so good to have you back. I think you were episode 12 or 14. I can't remember which, but it's literally been like 4 years. And I think a lot of people probably don't even remember the earlier episodes of Chatting with Nuts when it was way less polished than this. So where have you been? What have you been doing?
Yeah, I mean, the short answer is that really boring. I graduated college, and I was like, wow, when I graduate school, I'm gonna like have so much time. And then I started working this corporate job that I actually really loved at the time, and it was really great. I learned so much, but it was like mentally exhausting. Like at the end of the day, I would get home and just be so exhausted, and I didn't want to be on camera. And like it was also like a time in my life where I was living in California. My boyfriend at the time lived in a different state. My parents lived in a different state, and I was just like, I didn't have that like I don't know, like stability, if that's the right word, to be creative. And then this year, when I moved to Massachusetts, got engaged, I feel like I finally had that stability to be like, wow, like I want to be creative now. Like I feel safe in a way. And I think that's the short of it. Boring, but that's where I've been.
I think I don't really think it's boring, but I do think it's relatable. I think whenever I feel less stability in life, the harder it is for me to take time to do stuff like this, because I feel almost like a guilt, like of being unsettled, like I need to get things in order, which is probably why this entire year, whenever my former job felt so insecure, like I didn't feel like I had it this year. Like 2025 has been a bit rough, but now a little bit more stable. I'm feeling much better. I know I speak for a lot of people. Some of them are in the chat right now, such as Used Chicken. That's glad that you're back, of course. And congratulations on getting engaged.
Thank you. It's awesome. I recommend this, whatever version of happiness like it looks for you. I recommend it, because it's great being engaged to your best friend. It's awesome.
So the big news: Rid recommends being happy. That's a big statement. It's brave. Not many people come up here and say that, but you did, and I commend you for that, Rid. I really do.
It's the hill I'm willing to die on.
Some Okadu said, "Weren't you the one who talked with Daniel Green about Frankenstein?" That is a deep cut. I wouldn't imagine.
That is a deep cut.
Like Wheel of Time is what I was expecting, but Frankenstein it is.
It wasn't even on his main channel. I think it was like a second channel that he doesn't post on anymore.
You killed the channel? Did you kill the channel, Rick?
Yeah, it was me. I wore like a really dumb like witch hat. So honestly, I'm glad that he didn't post it.
I remember this. This. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Derry says it's good to have you back, Rid. I could not agree more. Simon Dinosaur says CWN is the official start to the weekend. I love that this has become a thing where people can show up and hang out. And Rid, I've been seeing in the chat, like you show up, like you're part of the community. I've been a part of your community for a very long time. They're not as active as I once was, obviously, but we were talking before about when we started our channels and it being in the pandemic and how difficult it was, but also how many opportunities we had to connect with people in like different ways. And I don't know if a lot of people know this, but I think even before I had a channel, I was actually part of your book community. Like I was a frequent chatter in your Discord. I watched all your videos and was really probably the second person I had connected with outside of Alex Nevaez. I don't know if you remember Alex.
I
from
do,
way,
yeah.
yeah, from way back in the day. But you and him were like my first two book buddies, and Chris Bookish
Mhm.
Cauldron was the third. So I think I have to almost thank you in many ways because one, you made me want to be like a part of the online book community. But two, the way you ran your community was so commendable and welcoming to everyone that I think it shaped a lot about how I wanted to kind of mold a community and to be. So you were
Mhm.
in many ways my blueprint, and I think I have a lot of thanks to give you for that.
Wow, I did not know that you started your channel after me. I thought you had already been like making videos when I started making videos. So I'm surprised to hear that.
Well, now I'm worried I'm wrong because a lot of
Well,
safety
it might
headshots.
not. Yeah. No. Well,
I had to do.
no. We started around the same time. That's what I remember. And if anyone wants to go see like a really deep cut old like old version of Jimmy and I have a live of us tier ranking fantasy tropes from like
Oh,
way back when.
I forgot I
And
did that.
yeah, so if you want to see Jimmy like back in the day, go check that out on my channel. At Riddbook, make sure you like and subscribe.
It's down in the description. Make sure that you do it. I totally forgot we did that stream, and I wonder how I would feel going back and looking at it now. I wonder how much we should do. Maybe we should do part two.
We totally should. I would have so much fun with that.
I think that could be interesting considering how much my tastes have changed over the years. And, you and I didn't always have the same taste in books. I think we have a lot of overlap, like Realm of the Elderlings and Malazan. But certainly back then, I mean, I felt like you were reading such eloquent stuff, and I was reading like swords, heart pounding, rush into battle stuff, and was just like, I mean, your typical Jim Bro reading fantasy, screaming at my camera with a man bun. Like that was kind of my brand, I guess you would say. And I always thought that I was like, man, I wish I was a better reader like Rid. Like that was one of the things I thought all the time. And that
Uh-huh.
it comes from the fact that I always thought that you were so articulate in your videos, specifically Dead House Gates, which I still reference as my favorite Malazan video on the internet. And I'm just so glad to have you back to making videos, but also just glad that you're around to be a part of the community. So very, very happy you're here. And you put out a video recently, another video essay, talking about Robin Hobb being somewhat good at what she does and comparing this to Jane Eyre. I hope I'm saying Jane Eyre right. I always have a tough time with Eyre for some reason. Did I say it right?
I think it's Jane Eyre, but it is spelled eerie, so I don't blame you.
That's why people come here, though, is to laugh at me mostly. So for those who haven't seen it, could you explain what your recent video was and kind of the premise of it all?
Yeah, I guess the inspiration for that video is um like kind of like a defense of fantasy in general because I feel like people don't necessarily appreciate the craft that goes into fantasy a lot of times, and
Hmm.
I think that Robin Hobb is just a wonderful, beautiful writer in general, not just for fantasy, but she like deserves to be recognized as someone who takes like narrative structures that are really popular in like literary fiction and has applied those to fantasy to so much like just so excellently.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that the best way to talk about Robin Hobb is to compare her to like one of the literary greats, Charlotte Bronte. And yeah, and I think that Jane Eyre is my favorite book of all time, and Realm of the
Oh, really?
Elderlings. Yeah, it's like my favorite novel of all time. I read it in high school, and it was a really important book to me. And when I read Realm of the Elderlings, I noticed so many similarities between the structure and the plot. And I was like, most authors, if you compare them to someone like Charlotte Bronte, they come away being like, not, it's not a favorable comparison. But when you compare Robin Hobb to Charlotte Bronte, it's like she's actually that good. And yeah, that's the video essay.
I think it brings up a lot of really interesting points. I, of course, have not read that book, but it made me want to, which is kind of fun because whenever a fantasy video gets me to want to like kind of reach out and read other things, I'm always very appreciative of that. David Seward said in a Substack post to go with it, you are on Substack.
Yeah, that yeah, I made a lot of different versions of the video essay. Some of them were like a little more personal where I talk about like my story of like coming to read Jane Eyre and coming to read Robin Hobb after. And it was cathartic to write it out, but when I filmed it, it did not work very well. And I was like, well, I already wrote out like three different versions of the script, so I'm gonna put it on Substack because that's what the cool kids are doing.
Yeah, Substack it seems to be a platform that's growing a lot. And do you enjoy the process of writing things out?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I think for me, YouTube, like filming stuff is my least favorite part because I always just I get really in my head about it, and I have to take so many. I have to like sit there and talk so like I have to read every single part multiple times. But like the scripting and coming up with ideas and then the editing are my favorite thing about
So
YouTube.
we would be a deadly duo because I just like turning the camera on and
I
going,
know.
as you can see, and I don't like
Uh-huh.
any of the other stuff. I don't want to prep. I just want to see what happens when I open my mouth. It's like what I thrive on. So
Mhm.
you and I would be a tremendous, duo for a channel. I'm just saying.
Yeah, we should. This is what this is, I guess.
Yeah, this is the actual pilot. We're going to be morphing this into Rid Nuts is actually what the channel is going to be called. It's going to be sick. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I
Uh,
love that.
I guess I have to say this. I hit 19,000 subscribers this past week. So thank everybody for that. I think we'll get to 20 by the end of next year if I'm lucky. We'll see.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you. Why, thank
Derek
you.
said Jinema.
Jinima is
That
actually
sounds
kind of
like
a
a Robin Hobb name.
yeah, that would work for a character name. I actually quite like that. And I also love the fact that you reached outside of the fantasy genre to draw these parallels and to kind of bring these things with, kind of even with one another. Tab Williams, when I had him on, was talking about how he thinks there's a lot of like crap in genre fiction. Like it's undeniable. Like sometimes you can slap a dragon on a cover and it's going to sell a lot because it has a dragon on the cover. But then there's the people who really stand out, and by the way, this is also in just like general fiction, contemporary fiction too. There's a lot of garbage there as well. But like the true giants of like each pillar are much more relatable to each other than many people think. And maybe there's just not as much credence given to things because it's genre fiction. So I was curious for you, is there anybody else in sci-fi or fantasy that you can draw a comparison to some sort of like classical book or author for that matter? Is like you did the Robin Hobb thing, but was there somebody else you were also thinking about?
There is, and I kind of don't want to say it because I want to make a video about it.
Oh, that's very capitalistic of you. No, I'm just
It is.
kidding.
No, but I think it's actually kind of obvious. I think Malazan and Dune have a lot of similarities, and I think it would be a fun video follow up to make a Malazan Dune comparison, which I think is kind of cheating because Dune is genre fiction, but
Yeah,
it's I think Dune also gets to transcend a little bit, and people think of it as like more seriouser.
seriouser is definitely the descriptor I would give Dune. And also, it does happen to have like a major motion picture that was super successful behind it. So while they're both genre fiction, one has really reached like, I mean, almost as far as you can up the ladder.
Mhm.
And I think that there is a lot of comparisons to be made, especially in Gardens of the Moon. The dinner scene is obviously one that I would think of. And I know that Erickson talks about Dune a little bit. When I interviewed him, I made the dumb. I remember so clearly. I was like, "So you basically like took the plot of Dune, right?" And he's like, "Well, I didn't take the plot of Dune." I was like, "Yeah, I didn't mean to say that. I'm an idiot." Like I was so like, "Oh my god, like you're bombing, Jimmy. What are you doing?" But yeah, I think there's a lot of comparisons to be made
Well, I
there.
think Steven Erickson, I remember reading a blog post by him where he says that he did that from like 2016. So you weren't necessarily off
So
the mark.
it's the structure, I believe. I,
Hmm.
I said
Yeah.
something way worse. Like, yeah, you just like took the plot of Dune and threw it in there, and that was real good,
Okay.
man. And he was just like, he's just like this jabroni. Erickson was always very kind with how stupid I was. He's always been very charitable to me. So of course he didn't actually, yell at me. He just gave me a light correction, and I was like, okay, just hang in there. It's gonna be all right, James. You're gonna be okay. Cold Witch Says, hey, Rid and Jimmy. Coldwitch is a name that I will always be happy to see show up in the chat. Delights me so very much. So this
She's
is an
also an amazing artist. Have to plug her art.
amazing.
Go check out her art if you like niche fantasy series merch. I think it's the same name on Society 6.
Yes,
she's still on there.
An incredible artist, in fact. A lot of talented people in the community, right? It's kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it is crazy. Sorry, I cut you off earlier.
Oh, it's fine. You should cut me off more, to be honest with you. Matt said, there's a bizarre series that starts with the Era affair that includes a book detective trying to stop a criminal from going into Jane Eyre. Matt, you can't say that and then not say what that is. Oh, okay, by Jasper Ford? I've never heard of this.
Is this the Wild Sargasso Sea, or is that something else?
I have never heard of this. This is insane. It sounds wild, and it sounds like something I would enjoy. And it'd be really funny if I read that before reading Jane Eyre. Like, that would be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think you should try it, honestly. Why not?
I read James without reading Huckleberry Finn. That was awesome.
Yeah.
I had a blast.
I read Demon Copperhead, and I read like David Copperfield like a really long time ago, to the point where I basically haven't read it.
Well, I never read David Copperfield, and I did read Demon Copperhead, and it was fabulous. And I know that you enjoyed it as well, which is like right whenever you first like started making videos again, I saw your love for Demon Copperhead, and I was like, I knew I liked her. I knew she was right all along. What a book. What a book it is. Oh my gosh.
Well, Demon Copperhead is also like a Bildungsroman in the same way that Farseer and Assassin's Apprentice are. So it's like a structure that I already gravitate towards, and she does a lot with it that I love. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a really talented author. Have you read anything else by her yet?
No, I haven't, but I actually have a collection of her short stories that I found at the used bookstore.
I don't think I knew that she wrote short fiction. I mean, I feel like everyone has a short story collection at this point, but I would be very curious to actually read hers. You would really like Poisonwood Bible. I think you would love Poisonwood Bible, actually.
Okay. What's it about?
It is about a family. I believe it's the 1950s. That is a missionary family. I think they're Baptist. I could be wrong on that. And they're living in the Congo. And the Congo is going through essentially being a proxy war for the Cold War. And it's an evangelist family living in a Congo society, and all of the things that could happen to that, plus nature and what's going on around them. And it is a tale of not just like the two nations kind of meeting, but also the family and expectations and demands, and also religion clearly will play a role in it. And I thought, I've done missionary work when I was a kid, when I was religious, and it had a lot of things that I felt were like kind of just true about missionary work in general, which I thought was really interesting. And I also felt like Demon Copperhead was a book full of truths, as someone who grew up in Appalachia. So it's like, I really like Poisonwood Bible. It's just one notch below Demon Copperhead for me. I think you would love it. It's fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love to read more of her work. So
yeah. You have to read it by next week. That's your homework. I'm giving you homework actually right now.
Well, actually, I already read Mockingbird.
That's true. We found
that
out.
was my.
Yeah, we're both reading it.
Did you finish it already?
I did finish it, and you finished it. You finished it today, and I finished it yesterday. Is that right?
Yeah, I guess we accidentally buddy read it.
And Overly Average Ben and me were buddy reading it, and then a bunch of other people in my Discord started reading it. Joanna told me she's about to start reading it. The number one message I've gotten about Mockingbird, because last time I did my wrap up, I kind of invited like everyone to read it alongside me since it's the patron pick. The number one message I've received from about 4 people has been, "This book is very boring."
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I don't think it's entirely untrue. But I enjoyed the book, and I have plenty of thoughts to go about it. But not a big fan of weed. Tevis was not a big fan of marijuana or television. It's pretty obvious.
Yeah. Yeah, Ben and I were talking about this because I posted a quote from the book on my Instagram story. So I was getting some messages too from all the people who were inspired by you to read it. And yeah, I have some thoughts about it. I didn't read it as like so explicitly anti-drug as like more drugs as a metaphor for like numbing the masses, and like I didn't see it as like
Hmm.
specifically the drugs. I think I had a slightly different reading, but I didn't find it boring. I thought it was more. I mean, yeah, it's like a '80s like a dystopian novel, and I kind of knew that going into it. So it's not like The Will of the Many where shit's going down all the time.
Right. Yeah, of course. Of
but,
course.
I liked it a lot actually.
Yeah, I had parts that I really loved about it, especially like the Garden of Eden kind of imagery that's in there. And ironically, I thought the robot was the most interesting part. If anything, I wish there would have been a little bit more of that. But I did find Mockingbird to be, and you know, I kind of described it like this. It almost felt like the book was in grayscale for me.
Mm,
I don't know why that is, because Tevis actually takes great strides to make sure that he details the color of the world. He has a
mm,
lot of color in his early descriptions in the book, but for some reason it just all felt very gray to me. But it's not and totally unlike 1984 for me. When I
mm.
read
Yeah.
1984, the little bit of visualization that I do, which is, I mean, almost none, I actually imagine that book in black and white for some reason.
Mm,
And I think that had the same vibe in Mockingbird, which fits because I think the books are pretty much in conversation with each other. I think one complements the next very, very well. I think if you like 1984, you should definitely read Mockingbird. And in some ways, I like Mockingbird more than 1984. So, have you read 1984?
yeah, in high school, but I don't really count it because I was depressed as shit in high school, so I don't remember much
You
from that
too?
time.
You too?
Yeah, I know that's kind of a pre-requirement for being a booktuber, I guess.
How many times were you put into a locker? It coincides with how many subscribers you actually get. It's 10,000 for each locker
Mm.
shove. Ben said, "Good evening. I would never mock a bird personally, hence my 3.5 rating." In Colwich says, "Rid, this is another opportunity to recommend The Will of the Many."
I liked The Will of the Many. It's a good book.
It is.
It's it's not like my favorite book of all time, but I had a really good time with it.
Yeah, I thought the ending really sold me on it. I was very middling, and then the end, I was just like, okay, gloves are off. That's pretty insane. Like one of the few endings that really kind of like shocked me and with the direction of it. So for me, just trying something that crazy works wonders. I just like people doing stuff a little bit out of the box. Not saying it's not been done before or whatever, but I had a good time reading it. Are you going to read the sequel when it comes out in what, November? Is it November?
If I'm not reading No Life Forsaken, I will read it.
I was going to ask you if if we're going to buddy read that when that comes out. I assume we
I
are.
would be so down to buddy read No Life Forsaken. I loved The God Is Not Willing. It's my favorite Malazan thing, and that might just be recency bias because I finished Malazan like 2 years ago now, and so reading The God Is Not Willing, like I read it like a month ago, 2 months ago,
Hmm.
and that was like my return to the world. So it might just be recency bias, but I loved The God Is Not Willing so much.
I think I read it like 3 or 4 months after finishing the main series, and my initial reaction was, "This is all the best stuff of Malazan boiled down into a 400-page book. Like, how does it get much better than that?" I
Hmm.
feel like I've let other people's opinions kind of seep into my brain because now I'm like, "Oh, it was pretty good." But at the time when I read it, I was like so over the top excited about it. Had a lot of interesting ideas about the book, like what it was trying to say. I don't know if any of them were really right, but that's usually what I got out of Malazan, is coming away with lots of thoughts. And
Hmm.
it kind of delivered on that. Also, the Library Ladder says it's a very melancholy book, which he is referring to Mockingbird, as it was his Patreon pick, which, by the way, thank you, Bridger. I'm definitely glad I read it, and I did enjoy it. I have so many more thoughts that I'll say in my wrap up. But The God Is Not Willing, I think in some ways is almost, it's a victim of its own like premise slash marketing, and the fact that like Karsa's not there. And I know Erickson is not putting Karsa like in that book purposely, but
Hmm.
so many people that I see that don't like it are like, expected Karsa. Like I wanted Karsa and I
Mm.
didn't get Karsa. And that's such a Steven Erikson thing to do. Um, did you get a feeling of like nature versus nurture in The God Is Not Willing
Oh, definitely.
with Rant?
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, Rand is such a good character, and
Hmm.
yeah, this was the first Malazan book where I cried, like wept openly at the end of the book, and I think it was entirely because of Rand's character and the way that Erikson handles his arc is so beautiful.
Mm.
And I found the ending of the book very hopeful, which I like. I think he could have taken the book in a very like nihilistic um, Robin Hobb direction, and he doesn't, and I'm glad.
I feel like I
And
remember. Go
I'm
ahead.
trying
I'm
to
sorry.
turn my so I'm trying to turn my AC off because I'm like freezing.
Oh, I'm burning up. We are on the opposite. I'm sweat. These lights. You can ask anyone who's been in this room, like Jared or Murphy. It is so hot.
Uh-huh.
It
Yeah,
is incredibly hot.
I was watching back a bunch of Chatting with Nuts, and I watched the Murphy episode, and you guys are like listening.
Oh, I mean, and that was the hottest day of the year last year, and she almost had like a heat stroke. Kelsey had to bring a fan up and save her life. I mean, it was, but it's for the show. Like we got to
Mhm.
sacrifice things for the likes and the subscriptions. I mean, come on.
Gotta look dewy.
Yeah. So interesting you should say it's hopeful because I think I remember Erickson saying this, whether it's an interview or when I talked to him, that he was having trouble with like the darker side of stories or maybe like more of the, I don't want to say nihilistic necessarily, but like downtrodden negative things as he's gotten a little bit older. And I find that really fascinating for like someone who's written over a long span of their life and how that kind of changes the way that they feel about what they write. And I wonder if that was a case, like at the end of The God Is Not Willing, him taking it in that direction. I'd be kind of curious to ask him that, but I almost want to reread The God Is Not Willing before No Life Forsaken because I feel like I've forgotten a decent amount of it, even though it's only 400 pages. There's just a
Hmm.
lot of stuff packed into that.
Yeah, it's a very layered book for being 400 pages.
Hmm.
There's a part that I love. It's a tiny detail, but like basically in one chapter, a character is like musing about imagination and how important like imagination is and why like people lose their ability to imagine as they get older. And then
Mm.
like in the next scene, it's like a completely unrelated scene. This character called War Bitch, which great name. She insults this guy for not being able to imagine things properly or something like that. And I love how Erickson like just weaves together the narrative, like even though these scenes aren't related, they are because of that. And it's so good. It's an amazing book.
Yeah, I get more and more excited to know that there's more Erickson books coming out. And when I read Carcanis, I think you and I should also, buddy, read that. I think that that would be a really good
I'm
time
so down.
because
I'm
we
literally
can take our
anything you want to
time.
buddy read. Yeah,
Anything at
I'm
all.
down.
Anything
No,
at
yeah,
all.
yeah, anything.
I mean, you're doing Narnia with Andy Smith, so yeah, I guess it'd be Narnia. Read Narnia.
Listen, Andy said, "Do you want to read Narnia?" And I was like, "Okay." They're so short. It's like not even reading a book.
Hi. He messaged me and I said, Andy, I love you to death, but I'm not reading Chronicles of Narnia, brother. I said, it ain't happening. I said, I would love to do anything else. I would love to have you on, but I can't do The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe for you. I just can't do it. I don't know why, but C.S. Lewis just seems like a cringe lord. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I actually have
I
no
am
idea.
reading I'm reading it, and it is like very much a children's book. I more so than I remember. Like
Hmm.
it's not one of those books. Like I feel like you could read A Wrinkle in Time by Madeline L'Engle, and like enjoy that book for what it is. And like, but Narnia is just a kid's book in
Hmm.
a good way. That's what it is.
Yeah, I never got into it as a kid. I remember like everyone got really excited. I was like, this is the next, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. And I was like, nah, fam. I was super contrarian about it. I would not accept it. I was like, we have enough nerd things. We don't need any more nerd things. I've done a lot of prep work to memorize the spells and the places and we're not doing it. So I
Uh
never got
huh.
into it. I just personally never really got into it. Um, David has a good question here, and it's bouncing back a little bit to Malazan. He said, can you read The God is Not Willing first if you are guaranteed set on also reading the Book of the Fallen? Me personally, I would say absolutely not, personally.
Yeah. Andy has a contrarian take on this where he said that it's a good it's a good place to start. And I would say that if you are going to read Malazan first. Like read the 10 books first, because that's its own experience, and The God is Not Willing does spoil some things for the 10 books that, you know, if you are going to read it, read that and like have your unfettered, uncompromised experience of that, because that's just the way to do it. I will say, I think where I agree with Andy is that if you're someone who's tried Malazan and you're like, this is just not for me, but you're like, I don't know, there's like something about Erickson that compels me, and like I want something, you know, I want to engage with him in a different way, then try The God is Not Willing. Like if you've really given the 10 books a try. And anyways, I'm just going around in circles saying the same thing.
Yeah, what Rid is actually meaning to say is kind of what Kev's saying here. He said, David, if you read God is Not Willing first, I'm going to drive the mass and whoop yo ass. I think that's basically what Rid was saying. Is that right, Rid? I'm not mischaracterizing.
Yeah.
Okay. I was making sure.
Well, I live in Massachusetts too, so we can double up on him.
Yeah, it'll be an easy ass whooping. Well, you won't even have to leave your state. It's great. So I agree 100% with Rid. I do think like if you've bounced off Malazan, but you just want to try something else, I think that does work. And to be fair, like it does show off a lot of his strengths, in my opinion. I've seen some people say that that's not true, actually, that The God is Not Willing is kind of a departure. But I don't
really.
I don't necessarily agree. Like I said, my gut reaction when I read it was like, this is a banger. This is like top end of Malazan for me. Certainly better than Return of the Crimson Guard or Knight of Knives. Sorry.
Where are you hearing this, Jimmy? I'm like so disconnected. I'm so surprised.
That's good. Stay disconnected. Stay disconnected.
I was like, I love The God is Not Willing, and everyone's going to agree with me. It's such a great book.
Oh, I miss when everyone just agreed, you know, good old fashioned agreement. No, they'll find you. They'll find you and make sure to tell you that you're dumb. And I mean, some people have, I think, brought some legit gripes about the book that I think are interesting. Mostly centered around the Marines, which I thought was the best part of the
Marines
book.
are my favorite, and it's Fro and Stillwater.
Yeah, Stillwater is an incredible character. So good. Oh, God, I should reread that. Thornall, thank you. Said, this episode is like therapy for me. I feel so good watching you guys. Well, I'm glad that provides you any type of joy or relief. That actually means a lot to me. So thank you for telling me. It's very kind.
This is like therapy for me, too.
Honestly, that's all this show has been for 98 episodes. There's been times where I'm psychoanalyzing Alan, and then somehow it reflects back on me, and I'm like, am I also autistic? I might be. I'm not sure. Like it's been a self-discovery. You know,
I've had that thought many times, and I don't know if that's like a correct thought to have, but I do think it. Like maybe there's a correlation there with BookTube and being on the spectrum. Like genuinely, I mean that. Yeah,
I 100% agree with you, and it's never been more apparent to me that I might be a little different than when I'm out on the golf course, like talking to just everyday people. Like by the end of 9 rounds, they look at me and like, something's wrong with that guy. Oh my gosh. And I always feel so bad. I'm like, I feel like exposed. I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have talked so much.
Wait. Interesting. I'm curious to inspect that, but I'll ask you offline about that.
I mean, feel free. Feel free to.
What do you say that makes you feel like different?
I talk out loud how I'm thinking about what I'm doing, and I realize that no one thinks in the details that I think in, and I become hyper obsessive about really stupid things, and then like people just look at me like basically once I start talking, it's hard for me to stop. And I never realize that I've overwhelmed someone until it's far too late, and then I feel really bad. Like really, really, really bad. I've been working on it though. I'm getting a lot better at it, but it's a thing. It's definitely a thing. Also, I've had so many people comment. This is sad, actually. I've had so many people comment that they can't believe how mean I am to myself, which I'm aware of. Like I've talked about on the show before, like why I don't keep a journal, because it's just me insulting myself, and I don't think it's good. But like I'll say some stuff to myself on the golf course, and people be like, "Bro, relax. Like, you shouldn't talk to yourself. And then just having like a stranger tell you that is like very sad in some ways, but also kind of puts it in perspective. And you're like, whoa, maybe I am like a little too hard on myself. Maybe that's real. Kelsey always like laughs when someone says it. She's like, I've been telling him that for a decade and he's not going to listen. He's just going to keep calling himself an idiot and all these other, you know, terrible things. So yeah. I do think there's something between the connection between booktube wanting to be part of the community and maybe being neurodivergent. I'm not saying it's an exclusivity, but there's definitely something
like a correlation there.
Yeah.
Not a causation, just a correlation.
Oh, Hayward said, I declare The Last King of Ostenard the objectively best fantasy series ever written, and I'm only 65 pages in, but it's that good.
Is that the last book of the series?
That is he's beginning the sequel series to Memories of Thorn. So The Last King of Ostenard is the sequel series, 4 books, supposed to be 3, of course. Tad wrote too much, and I like the sequels more than the originals, which is saying a lot because I really like Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn quite a bit. Just really, really tremendous. Used Chicken said, I just got back and they're talking about The God Is Not Willing. That's huge for me. Well, I'm glad that we could deliver.
Nat loves The God Is Not Willing. That might be why I love it so much too. It's like a bias, but also, in case anyone was wondering, Used Chicken is my fiance.
Well, I wasn't going to give up the gig. You know, I want people to think this is organic, positive interactions. Now what am I going to do? Actually, everyone here is my mom. No one here.
Yeah.
All 84
just
people.
All her alternative accounts.
Mrs. Mama Nuts. That's who it is. Spot Center, good to see you, my friend. $5, super generous. You don't have to do that. As you read this, I'm already gone. Just dropping off a little flashback Friday appreciation. Everyone, Jimmy once wrestled at a drive-in. I did wrestle at a drive-in. It was 98 degrees in the middle of July in like Connellsville, Pennsylvania, and I wrestled for I think 45 minutes, and I almost had a heat stroke. And the match got very physical and broke down, and not my proudest day. Not my proudest day, but Spot Center was there and remembers that. That's wild. That is insane. Thank you for the 5 spot. Rodrigo said, God, I wish I was disconnected so many times this year. I think that is totally fair. Use Chicken said, will not tolerate any marine slander and The God Is Not Willing. I think that is super fair. Derry said, booktube is a very Nero spicy. Nero spicy is great.
A great word.
Jenna Rose Reed said, it's been a rough few weeks here as well, so agree on the therapy. Glad to see you back, Rid.
Thank you.
Doesn't it just make you feel great?
It does. Honestly, it genuinely does feel so good to be back on booktube.
Yeah. I think there's always things we can complain about or whatever, but I think on the whole, it's been such a positive experience for me. And I'm very like thankful for that, because I know it also doesn't have to be. And it not always is, but for me, it's been pretty amazing. Auntie Book said, it is therapeutic listening and watching all. This is great. That makes me so happy. Over the Average Bed says, I think it's much more accurate to say there's something wrong with people on golf courses. That's not entirely wrong.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, how much of it is you and how much of it is them being weird and, like, the culture of golfers in general.
I do clash with the culture of golfers. That is factual. I do not share a lot of common interests outside of the game of golf, but I've also met some really great people too. So, there's always something. I think that most people, you can find something to appreciate about them or respect or like if you try hard enough. And I try my best to find those things in the people that I meet out in the wild. So
I have a book recommendation for you, Jimmy, that I haven't read myself.
Oh, I love these.
People who like a book podcast I listen to, Books Unbound, they always talk about this.
Okay.
And it's about golf. It's called Albatross, by Terry Follis. And hero Adam Coriel unexpectedly finds himself to be a golf prodigy. Unfortunately, he wants to be a writer and he hates golf, is the plot from Wikipedia. So maybe you'll like it. Ariel Bissett, she's always talking about how good that book is. So
I'm in. I will literally pick it up tonight. You say no more. Say no more. I
Wow.
will be the lab rat. I will test this out and tell you if you were right or not.
If you hate it, I said literally nothing.
Forget all this happens. Library Ladder says, "Don't worry, Jimmy. I talk to myself all the time. My kids get worried only when I start responding to myself." I admittedly do respond to myself sometimes, which is kind of sad. Kayla said, "About to start A Feast for Crows for the first time. Wish me luck. Can't imagine it's better than Storm, but I'm excited." So go into it expecting for it to be a very different book than Storm of Swords, but remember that like something has to fall out from it. And it's the beginning of the second arc of A Song of Ice and Fire in many ways. And it does struggle from the POV split, of course, but I think that there's a lot of that book that goes underappreciated because people are kind of expecting a Storm of Swords again. But we always have to come down from the hill once we go up. And I think that Feast is like the best come down I've ever read, just as A Storm of Swords is my favorite climax that I've ever read. So I hope that you'll find something to appreciate about it, and look for parallels between Brienne and Jaime, is all I'll say. There's a lot of really good stuff there. So Derry said, "I haven't seen Mama Nuts for a while." Me either, unfortunately. Very sad. Simon, thank you for the 5 spot. Says, "In the opinion of this completed it, you are very relatable, Jimmy." Wait, does that mean you're calling me Are you calling me?
This is a very roundabout way. No.
You got me to thank you for insulting me. That was incredible, Simon. That is some 4D chess. That's like the ultimate troll. But thank you for the 5 spots. Very, very, very generous of you. So I got to bring up something. We're talking about Malazan. I don't want to keep talking about a book 11 out of a 10-book series because I'm sure people are like, what in the world's going on? But your pipeline, and you described it as a pipeline, from Wheel of Time to Malazan really interests me. And for the Wheel of Time fans, the 2 or 3 that are around here, what is that pipeline? What does that look like?
Mm-hmm. For me, it was I reread Wheel of Time in 2020, and it's like at the time it was my favorite epic fantasy series of all time. I read Eye of the World when I was the summer between 5th and 6th grade, or 6th and 7th grade, and I was like 12 at the time. And I just remember reading the prologue and Luz Theron going crazy and blowing up everything, to cutting to Rand and his father in this like really provincial like country road. That like whiplash has always stayed with me and has always like been a microcosm of why I love epic fantasy. It's like the highs and lows of epic fantasy, and I love Wheel of Time. It's just I know it has a lot of flaws, and I recognize those and talk about them a lot. But yeah, I just love the series, and I have so much nostalgia for it. Mm-hmm. And in 2020, when I was rereading it during the pandemic, I finished A Memory of Light, and I was like, I need to find the next series that gives me this feeling, not necessarily in the same exact way, but just that feeling of like going on this really long journey that's, the hugeness of it, the vastness of it, in terms of like physical length. And Malazan was the one that kept coming up. And I actually think that was not necessarily like the best series to follow it up with, because Malazan is a little bit more disjointed. And I always describe Malazan as like having a central like thesis, and then like having all these books that come at that thesis in different ways. But Wheel of Time is more of like one long linear timeline. But yeah, I think Malazan did give me that feeling of like epicness and vastness that I loved from Wheel of Time. Yeah, it was another like challenge.
I like challenges for the most part, and I think I see those very similar. I think it begins with an appeal of challenge and of curiosity, and then there becomes other interest as you go on, hopefully, and then that's usually what actually ends up carrying you through such a long journey. And I've always felt like I like failed the Wheel of Time challenge because I DNF'd the series to the point where I'm like, I'm gonna finish it one day. Like, it's gonna happen. I have to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that actually makes a lot of sense for somebody to jump from like one mountain to the next and just to see what it's all about. And also with fantasy, there's obviously a lineage of reused ideas and tropes and things that we know and love in the genre, but there's always a sense of like anything could happen. And when something's that big and that vast, I feel like the possibilities of there being something I've not seen before being crazy is like higher.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I gotta find out. Like I have to know. And then also, it's very nice whenever a series has a community around it that you can engage with. It makes you feel like you're experiencing something that's bigger than you, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the Wheel of Time community is interesting because they tend to hate certain characters that I love, and it's like almost accepted as like gospel that people are supposed to hate this character, and I just find it really interesting. But there's different like sects of the Wheel of Time fandom, so you can find your corner.
And
Uh,
all of you seem willing to crap on parts of the series and be like, yeah, that part
yeah,
sucks.
yeah. I mean, all my server, my Discord server, most of us have read Wheel of Time, and we all have had lengthy discussions about aspects of the series that don't work. And I think that part of loving something is recognizing its flaws. Like
Mhm.
it's not like Realm of the Elderlings where it's actually just perfect. Um, but um, Wheel of Time is it's 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 its own thing. But I love it.
Yeah. I think also whenever you read something so many times, so deeply, like it's hard not to see flaws eventually because it turns out that writers are in fact, and they're that they have faults and they have
Mhm.
repetitions and blind spots, and they are also all products of their time as well. At least most of them, and that is just something that goes into the reading experience, especially when something's a few decades old. So
Yeah.
there's always something to talk about with those more lengthier series. And I wanted to highlight this comment because I thought this was pretty funny, and I have lost it. There it is. Talk to your kids about the alt Wheel of Time pipeline. This one of my favorite comments I've ever actually seen. Philip Chase said, "I read the Wheel of Time before I read Malazan." Philip Chase, I got a bone to pick with you. I got recognized in my onboarding at my new job by a new hire and was like, "Do you happen to have a fantasy book channel?" And his name was Tyler. Tyler, shout out to you if you're watching this. It was like such a crazy moment. I was like, I in fact do have a YouTube channel. And then one of my teammates heard about it, and he was like, "Oh, you have a YouTube channel?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "I love Philip Chase." And I'm like,
Oh my god.
yeah, man. Philip, I think I said Philip's pretty cool for a boomer. I wasn't actually insulted. This guy's like a huge culture fan, so I immediately liked him a ton. I was like,
Mhm.
this guy's awesome. But Philip Chase just constantly overshadowing me with his big sub count and his notoriety and his tweet, and I just think that he's the worst. So I shout out to you, Philip. Shout out to you for being awful. Tom said Wheel of Time is the goat. Um, Used Chicken said, this is big. I put down Wheel of Time down for 2 years, and I'm very glad I got back to it eventually. That's kind of where I
Wow.
was. Yeah,
Wow, Nat not giving me credit for telling him to continue the series.
ooh, I love
Just
this
kidding.
drama. Big drama here. Big drama.
I
I'm
I do
clipping this.
remember telling Nat he didn't like the Shadow Rising, and I was like, you should try Lord of Chaos, and he ended up loving it.
Okay, well that makes me excited because I thought Shadow Rising was just okay, and I actively dislike Fires of Heaven. So I'm thinking Lords of Chaos. It's that hour and a half prologue that keeps me. I started out and I'm like, oh my god.
Lord of Chaos is very long, but also I think here I don't know how much you know about Lord of Chaos. So if this is all stuff you already know, like feel free to stop me. But Lord of Chaos was originally like planned to be the last book because the series was planned to be 6 books.
Oh, I did not know
And
this.
so yeah, like that's part of the reason why Lord of Chaos is so long, and it is the longest book in the series. And but because of that, there are so many awesome moments in Lord of Chaos. Like probably my number one favorite Egwene moment, my favorite Matt Cawthon moments, my like amazing Rand stuff, the ending, like incredibly epic. Yeah, I think Lord of Chaos is an amazing book.
Yeah, I've seen people who have had similar experiences to me like it, and knowing Nat liked it as well. Man, maybe it's I got to get through Rune Lords, the first 4 books of Rune Lords. Have you had any interest in reading Rune Lords, by the way?
I've never heard of it. I've heard you talk
Oh,
about it, but that's like all I've heard of it.
did you read Rage of Dragons?
I did, and I
Okay.
didn't like it.
Well, that's fine. You don't have to like it. So, but Rage of Dragons had a magic system where they were like feeding off people. Do you remember they would like engorge people with power? Do you remember that?
Yeah, and there was like the
Witch's
alternate
Circle.
demon.
Yeah, and like
Okay.
those people get like superpowers from the witches or whatever.
Mhm.
I thought
Yeah.
that was the coolest shit ever. Like I was like, this is sick. I would like to see more of that. And my friend Joe said, hey, you should check out Rune Lords. It's that. it's like
Mhm.
a like Will of the Many almost, kind of like people giving up
Okay.
their like will to the masters or whoever's above them in the hierarchy. So Rune Lords has that kind of magic system, and it was written around the same time as a lot of the other big fantasy series. And David Farland is like really, really pivotal in Brandon Sanderson's career. He actually taught the BYU class, I believe, before Sanderson did.
Oh,
And
that's cool.
yeah, and it's just been kind of forgotten. And I've heard that there's like two arcs. I've heard the second arc isn't as good. I don't know if that's true or not because I haven't got to that point. But the first arc is just 4 books, and I read book 1 maybe 2 months ago, and I didn't think it was perfect by any means, but it was kind
Mhm.
of fun. Like it was kind of,
Okay.
I mean, it was epic. There was some really interesting magic moments that made you just like, you're like, am I watching some of the craziest like action montages of all time? Like,
Uh-huh.
I know everyone hates the word magic system. I do too, but like honestly, magic system's pretty cool. Like it was really
Uh-huh.
fun. Again, not the best fantasy by any means, but if you're looking for like that epic itch, I think
Mhm.
it's kind of interesting. I would love to see what you think about it. Um,
Yeah. I'm always looking for the next like epic epic itch as you describe it, especially long series. I just love long series. And you said it is 8 books? Is that what you
it's
said?
8 books, but a lot of people say read the first 4, and then there's like a generational jump or something like that.
Okay.
And people say,
Yeah.
you don't have to worry about the back. But I do know, I think it was Nico's book reviews, I think, had read the back 4, and he actually liked them. So it's like, I don't know, maybe they're fine. So
Mhm.
I'm going to keep reading them until I get bored. And I definitely was not bored with book 1. So that's a good start because there's a lot of times where I don't continue a series after book 1. It's like, it's a problem. Honestly, it's a pretty bad problem I
Yeah.
have. There is a lot of people saying there is no slog in Wheel of
There
Time.
isn't. I really love the slog.
And then
There's
JCM Burns says
great books
there's a
in the slog.
slog. Also, Belltube, I love this. Said the only Wheel of Time book I truly disliked was Crossroad of Twilight. Everything else was decent. Also, I'm loose there and I'm back, baby.
There's good stuff even in Crossroads of Twilight, in my humble opinion.
I have heard a couple people defend that book. That one seems to be the one that is the most contentious of the slog, from what I understand. Noel says it's def heard some people saying the slog is as bad as what people say. That slog books are still better than other fantasy books. I think that's a pretty common feeling among any fandom about their series, right? Like I've heard so many people say, like this is my least favorite Malazan book, but it's still better than everything else, which to be fair is like kind of an annoying thing to say. Like if I'm being honest, I say it. So I'm guilty. I know it's
Mhm.
annoying, but like we just have to do that. It's just
Yeah.
it's part of being a fan. I always
Yeah.
say if I had to choose between rereading A Song of Ice and Fire or reading like any new books, I would pick A Song of Ice and Fire every day of the week. And
Mhm.
that's an annoying thing to say. Like that's a dumb thing to say, but I
I say
stand.
that about Rainwild Chronicles. I think Rainwild Chronicles is Hobbs' least best work, but it's still better than like 90% of fantasy authors.
The thing about Rainwild Chronicles is I think there's a really great duology in there. I think that there's
Yeah.
a
I
5-star
read them
duology.
back to back, and I think that's the way that you should do it. They're not that long, is you can just read it as a duology.
Yes,
You
I
can
mean,
treat it as a duology and just
you're not wrong.
yeah.
The flood in Rainwild is sick. No spoiler really, but the flood is sick. That's one of
Yeah.
the cooler scenes that she's written. And there's some really good payoffs too. And there's good stuff in there. I agree with you. It was just my least favorite, but also I felt like Realm of the Elderlings fell into a really bad kind of cycle in Rainwild and the final trilogy with repetition of like reminding the reader what is happening.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that seems like in my opinion, it seems like an editing decision or a publisher decision, less so
Yeah.
because it really isn't that prevalent in the rest of the series until those final 2. which were
Yeah.
written sometime after the other ones, if I'm not mistaken. Jimmy, are you trying to take AP's place as the nemesis to Philip Chase? Absolutely. Hey, we are not boomers, Jimmy. Oh no, I've alienated my base. What am I doing? It's all in the tweed. See, he's aware. Philip used to be humble. He used to be humble, and then he read One Piece, and it was over. It was simply over for us. English professor reads a soup label is next. I swear. I swear. And Nat does confirm that was possibly bullied into continuing by my partner, which happens to be my guest tonight, Rid.
No bullying occurred, and if it did, it was for the best.
Oh my goodness. There's so many people saying that they just love Fires of Heaven. Hey, that's the beauty. There's a range of opinions. Simon, back with another 5 spot. You do not have to keep super chatting. Said donating your tweed jacket fund, Jimmy, so you can compete with Philip one day. Make sure it's his leather patches on the elbows. Well, thank you, Simon. I will buy a tweed jacket with the super chat money. It's very kind of you. Thank you. Oh my gosh. People are always so generous. It always makes me feel so bad. So I do want to talk about a little bit more about Wheel of Time, but less so the books and more so about the TV show, because a really fun piece of trivia that a lot of people probably do not know is that you were on the Wheel of Time Amazon official after show for season 1. Like, how? Like, how did this happen?
I genuinely have no idea. And this is a great place to air out my feelings about this.
Yes, this is what I wanted.
Because it's not on my channel.
Let's go.
Okay, so I really don't know why or how I got to be invited on this show. Like, if you look at everyone else who was on that show, like, they're all like larger creators than I was at the time. And even now they're all like larger than me. And like at the time it was like a really cool thing. They asked me to, watch the episodes like before it came out, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but I watched the season, like the entire season before it came out, and I basically had to like pretend like I hadn't seen it yet. And like I have a lot of sort of negative feelings about the show now, and like especially because of like that fan show thing also ties into it. But like at the time it was like a sort of handshake. I assumed that they would like link my channel or like mention my YouTube channel somewhere on that. And like the first video, like the first like episode that they did got like 1 million views, and like there's no link back to my channel. There's nothing, like there's no like thing to say that like, oh, this is a person who you can like go follow. And like I wasn't paid for this. I wasn't like compensated in any way. So it was like, I feel bad complaining about it, and that's why I like kind of never talk about it, because it was like, it was a cool opportunity. But at the end of the day, like I didn't get paid, I didn't get compensated. I basically did free labor for Amazon, free marketing. And yeah, like that whole thing like kind of put a bad taste in my mouth, because I was like, okay, well, I didn't even get exposure from this. And then the show came out, and I have a lot of negative thoughts about the show as well, and the way that they handled the adaptation. And like there's things that I like about it, but on the whole it was just kind of like it put a bad taste in my mouth, the way that they like treated the marketing, and like it was all like using fans in a way, and not really giving back to the community. Like not even in the sense of like they didn't even have like merch for the show. Like I was excited because I was like, Wheel of Time show is coming out, like I'm gonna buy merch, like I want to do that.
I was excited about it.
Yeah, and then like Wheel of Time is a show that like, or is a book, it's a series that like the fashion is such a huge part of it. So I was like, they could do so much, and they could do like, there's all these little trinkets in Wheel of Time, like the Angreal and all these different things that they could have done for the fans that they just didn't do. And and then like combined with the fact that I did like all this free labor for them, I was like, well, I don't want to talk about the show. Like the adaptation went wrong in so many ways. And like thought about making a video, but like honestly at this point, if I ever made a video, like I don't want to go through and watch the show again in order to give my like analytical thoughts. Like it would just be me like ranting about like, well, why did you do this to Rand? Or like, why did you like,
Yeah.
there's so many things that I could talk about that are, and yeah, it's just a negative experience. And I don't feel like it's productive to talk about on like my, in like a,
Yeah. That's what this is for.
yeah, it's like
Get it
I don't
out.
want to, yeah, but I feel bad like complaining because it was a really cool thing that happened.
It's certainly
But yeah,
cool, but there's also a lot, just the point here, of it being very, I would say, kind of scummy of them in some ways. And so first off, I totally agree with you about the trinkets and everything. This is one of the things I talked about with Matt and Ezra, who were the original Bend the Knee guys. They had Heroes of the Horn of his Wheel of Time reread podcast. And, I was saying, I hope this show's really good. I think Amazon needs like a big hitter of a show. And their point was so interesting in the fact that at the time, this is many years ago, I guess at this point, right? It's like 4 or 5 years ago. This was the time where streaming services were very much becoming the normal, and there were tie-ins for ads, and you could just like add something to your cart while you're watching a thing. And Matt was like, dude, like imagine a show like Game of Thrones that has the marketing platform and the e-commerce
yeah,
platform of Amazon Prime. Like they are going to literally have like introduce an Aja, and you're going to get an ad for like, get the red Aja hood or whatever it is, right? You can get rings and all these things. And there was such an opportunity to kind of make this thing a little bit more tangible and put it in the
hmm,
hands of the people who are fans of it. And I was thinking, I was like, you know what? Matt might be right. Like this could end up being huge if it
yeah,
catches on. And they
yeah,
didn't try to do it at all. They treated it just
no,
like another show. And I
yeah,
think that they did a lot of things right, but they also did a lot of things wrong. And ultimately, there's probably just too many cooks in the kitchen at Amazon. Truthfully, like
yeah,
that's probably just what it is. But to say that they dropped the ball on the merchandising standpoint would be a vast understatement, a gross understatement. And unfortunately, I think what you experienced with them bringing you on and not linking back and not, and if I'm right, season 2 did not use any Wheel of Time community creators. Is that right?
no, yeah, I didn't get asked back, but yeah, I think they continued to invite some of the creators back, and like honestly, like good for them. If anyone else got paid, like happy for you, get your bag. Like no, this is no shade at all to any of the other people who
Yeah.
were on that. It's solely Amazon. Yeah, they continued to like invite people back, but they didn't do like a fan show again.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, like I also feel like I was so excited for the Wheel of Time show. Like I kind of went through and like deleted or like I unlisted a lot of my Wheel of Time show like videos, but I kept my like trailer reaction on because I feel like that captured like how excited I was for the show and how much the books meant to me. And I loved talking about the show before it came out because it was like because the show wasn't out yet, the only thing you could really do was talk about the books and be like, I wonder how they're going to adapt this scene, or I wonder how they're going to do this. And it was so exciting to talk to people about the books. And it was almost like better before the show came out. And then the show came out. And then, like, I actually really liked certain aspects of season 1. And
Hmm.
even season 2, like, season 2 is probably my least favorite. Season 3, did a lot of things that pissed me off, but also they had some really great sequences where they adapted stuff very faithfully. But yeah, like before the show came out, the only thing to do was talk about the books. So it was so fun.
Yeah.
And I loved that. And there was something else I wanted. Oh, the one thing that I did like that they did was Rosamund Pike did the audiobooks. And
Will they continue
she,
that?
I hope so. I think they're not because of all the like licensing and whatever. But yeah, the Rosamund Pike audiobooks are really good.
Yeah, I've heard really good things about them. And I'm sorry, I'm just so done with Kate Redding and Michael Kramer. Like I've
Oh
listened to
my
them for
god.
thousands of hours, I feel. And I just having like another narrator is really cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, you know, they probably won't continue that. And from what I know, Rosamund Pike and the rest of the crew, I mean, they were really into the books, which I always think is like a nice thing to hear. I don't think it's mandatory, by the way. There were a lot of Game of Thrones actors that weren't like they decided not to read the books that did great in
Mhm.
the show. So I don't think it's like
Yeah,
mandatory by any means. But let's be honest, it feels really good when people portraying the characters have a relationship with the source material. It just feels nice.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I think a lot of shows do this though. They come in, they want to build that base that are going to generate them all the trends that they want on social media, right? People are going to make videos about
mhm.
it or whatever, free promotion. And then after they get that solidified audience, there's no reason to pander to them anymore. And to be honest with
Yeah,
you, like the adaptations are almost never actually for the book readers. And I mean this about any show. If your mom, dad, and cousin and Uncle Jim aren't watching the show is going to be canceled. So they have to focus on that general audience. So it's a
yeah,
real, to be fair, it's like a really tough line to walk, but almost always I feel like there is a piggybacking off of fandoms for the first season for all the pre-release stuff, and then just a complete departure from being a part of the community, but also they generally stop caring, which
yeah,
is kind of the worst.
yeah,
It's just a product of the process, I think.
yeah. Learned a lot from that experience.
Yeah, I was happy for you whenever it happened. I would only imagine what it'd feel like if House of the Dragon or Dunkin' Egg asked me to do something for, like, I would be thrilled and I would feel the same way. Like I'd be like, I never want to complain about this, even if there were things, and I'm sure there would be. There'd be things I dislike about it. And it's kind of a weird position to be put in. I can understand why you don't want to talk about that on your channel. Like
Yeah.
it's tough. Nat said, I just keep saying things he agrees with. I'm Michael Kramer's biggest hater as an editor. I'm sure he's a perfectly nice guy. No, you know what? I bet he's a bad guy. I bet he's terrible.
I kind of hope for the like last era of Stormlight that they choose a different narrator duo, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, also just how long those books are going to come out. I don't know if Kramer will still be working at that point. Like he will retire. It's like
Yeah.
Wayland, they will retire at some point. And also, I just don't know if Kramer's voice for me, and I know there's gonna be like Stormlight fans are like, no, he's the voice of the characters because he has
Mhm.
been. But to me, he's never really matched what I got out of Roshar. That's
Yeah.
just me. So
Yeah, I think their voices and this sucks, but I think it's the American accents, like, they you have to have a British accent for fantasy, just to a certain extent. Like, that when you listen to a British accent, it feels, like, elevated and secondary worldy.
yeah, and just feel removed, I guess. From, and I guess that's very American of us to say, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I know if
Fair.
anyone wants to send me hate mail about that, feel free because I recognize the foul what I'm saying is
We're red
fallible.
blooded Americans here at the network, okay? All right. uh, JCM Burns said, if being a fan of the source material made a show good, Snyder's Superman would have been watchable. We should all really coincide with comic book fans because they've been having to put up with adaptations
Oh my
and
god, yeah.
betrayals for decades at this point. Like they're just getting farmed for mistaken aura. It's not something that they probably feel great about at this point, though there's been a ton of amazing, I mean, obviously the Dark Knight and
Mhm.
all that stuff. So there's good and bad. Most of it's going to be bad, but that's also kind of like all art in many ways. Usually
Yeah,
the good
that's
stuff bubbles up.
Sturgeon's law.
Yeah. I
10% of everything is or was it 90% of everything is trash.
Do you think, that also goes for booktube. I'm just saying, like 90% of what I've done has been trash. This is one of the good ones. Don't worry. Uh, do you think in your lifetime that they'll have another attempt at a wheel time adaptation?
I think they will just because it's like I think the way that Hollywood works is if something's already been made, the chances of it getting rebooted seem to be higher.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I feel like they will. And I hope it's next time they do it, it's better.
Would you say it would be pivotal for them to get off Amazon and Sony?
Yeah, I mean, Amazon just hasn't had any good shows, like in general.
I like Man in the High Castle. I like
Okay,
Willow.
I watched a couple episodes of that and I liked it. But
It's
that didn't get super popular.
no one likes it. It's just me and
Yeah.
a couple other people. I don't know why I like it so much. I think I just like the premise of the story. I mean, not like it as in like I wish it happened. To be clear,
Mhm.
but the fact that I just find it interesting. But I mean, The Boys, I guess, was their biggest show, right?
Oh, yeah, that's true. I don't
Probably.
watch a lot of TV. This
Me
is
either.
me.
Me either.
Um, I tried watching The Boys, and it's, like, one of those shows that's, like, not really my vibe. Invincible, that's Nat really loves
Yeah,
Invincible, and
that's
I like
pretty
the
popular.
show.
Yeah,
Yeah. I've read some Invincible, or I read a lot of Invincible, and it's that comic book series is really good. I
I've
think you
heard
would
it's
like it
great.
if you haven't. If you
I
like the
think
show, you would like the comic book.
I think I would. I've never tried it, but that's been one of the number one like recommendations for me to try either animation or comics would be Invincible. So I'm totally open to the idea. I know the premise roughly, and it does sound like something I would probably like. But I mean, Invincible, The Boys, it's kind of
Yeah.
it out of Amazon, and they seem to give up like it's all the services. They all give up on shows so fast. It's just really tough whenever things cost so much money to make, and Wheel of Time was not cheap.
Yeah. It was not. Um, but also I feel like it didn't look that great. Like the cinematography of the show could have been a lot better. Like
Mhm.
I when I watch House of the Dragon looks expensive. It looks good. And I can't say the same for the Wheel of Time necessarily.
I've always had that feeling about almost all Amazon shows. I've never liked the filter that they put on. And Neetha mentioned The Expanse, which I love The Expanse. I haven't watched the final season because I want to get caught up in the books and then watch it. But even whenever Expanse went to Prime, they added the Amazon like color grade on it. And I was like,
Mhm.
ah, like I kind of missed the
Yeah.
sci-fi, which is weird because there's way worse
Yeah.
of a budget for that. But uh, yeah, I don't know. It's also tough because there's only so many people that work in television. So they kind of
Mhm.
have to go with whoever's available at the time and who's not signed to a contract, already on a project. And that's the thing about TV and you could probably say it about most productions is that unfortunately it's a lot about timing. It just
Yeah.
is. It's a lot of life, I think, too. So I would like to see somebody else try it again. Number one thing though, this is the vibe check. Are you ready?
Mhm.
They have to adapt the prologue.
Oh, yeah. No, I was so disappointed when they opened on that stupid ass scene of what's her name, Leandrin chasing down some guy, and the lighting is horrible in that scene. Like, the prologue is so iconic and so beautiful, and it captures the Wheel of Time perfectly. Like, why wouldn't you open on that?
Exactly. And like you said, that promise to jumping to a farm boy and his father walking down a country road, like that's the promise. Game of Thrones,
Mhm.
it's the White Walker prologue.
Yeah.
Boom, cutting to
Yeah.
Winterfell. And there's actually a link
Exactly.
there, which is kind of neat. You know, it's the guy who's escaped and now Ned's beheading him. And this is how we basically tells us everything we need to know about the Starks immediately of how
Mhm.
Ned Stark is raising his children. And you can say, well, this is harsh, but this is a man of, of justice. But my point being is there's the promise and then you start your story.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think the prologue to Wheel of Time is awesome personally. I don't know anybody who
Yeah.
doesn't love it. So it just has to. That's the vibe check. I think if I see another
Yeah.
adaptation in my lifetime and they don't open up with Luce Theron losing his shit, like I'm not interested. Like,
Yeah. There's so many moments in the show where I feel like it's the setup in the books was perfect and the payoff is perfect. But in the show, they just want to have the payoff without the setup. And so they'll try to like adapt these moments that are amazing in the book, but they don't include any of the setup. And that's part of the reason why I feel like
mm,
it falls so flat so often.
yeah, yeah, and that's another thing of like how where are you going to spend your time and money on these things?
Mhm.
And unfortunately, we have reached like TV blockbuster era, and
Yeah.
it obviously affected the last 2 to 3 seasons of Game of Thrones. I think it's affected a little bit actually of the audience of House of the Dragon, less so the production, which is kind of fascinating. I think people have
Mhm.
grown to expect one thing. I'll say this. I think if season 1 Game of Thrones came out today, I think it
Mhm.
would be slammed for being boring. That's
Really?
that's a hot take, but as someone who's very tapped into like the House of the Dragon TV stuff, which I wish I wasn't, let me tell you, like I wish I wasn't.
Uh-huh.
I, I'm not seeing things about setup or this and that. I'm seeing
Yeah.
no dragons this episode. This sucked.
Oh
I'm
my
like, oh
God.
no, oh no,
Yeah.
oh, not
I
good.
loved, yeah. I have a really fond memory of watching the Game of Thrones show, and I loved season one of House of the Dragon.
Mhm.
Is it House of the Dragons or Dragons?
House of the Dragon.
Okay, House of the
So it
Dragon.
should probably
I
be
loved season
dragons. You know, think about
one.
it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna call it Dragons because it's better. No, I haven't finished season two, but I've seen like I've been on the fringe of the discourse around that show, and I think again the disconnectedness helps a lot when it
Yes,
comes to that thing.
I'm telling you, actually stay disconnected because it is a good season of television that has some
Hmm.
problems, but like almost the entire bucket of problems, almost all
Hmm.
of it, comes from HBO. Like HBO came in and
Hmm.
cut 2 episodes, and it is what it is. And then
Oh yeah,
and then you're just spending 90% of your time in discourse trying to explain that to people who refuse to hear it, and it's just I hate talking about television online. Like I hate it. I
yeah,
despise it. It is so much worse than the book community. It's not even the same thing at all.
yeah,
It's just
yeah.
people parroting things they read on Reddit over and over and over and over.
I did not know that. Like a sorry, you can read the comment,
Yes,
Jimmy.
Annette said, "How do you guys feel about Laika? I think I'm pronouncing that right. Buying the rights to Paranesi and making a stop motion adaptation. First off, didn't know this was happening. Second off, I don't know what any of that really means. And then third off, I'm excited.
So Laika are the people who made Coraline, and they made a bunch of other shows, TV or TV. They made a bunch of other movies, and they are all like beautiful works of art. They're like these intricate, gorgeous stop motion animation movies, and they do such a good job of like capturing the quirkiness of Coraline. And
Hmm.
yeah, I'm that makes me really excited. I haven't read Piranesi, but the
Oh, you
uh, the
haven't?
the concept. No, I haven't. I
Rude,
know.
rude. We were just talking about the pandemic and like that.
I know.
You just log off now and just go read
Okay,
it. just. I
I'm
mean,
gonna go.
and I will
I
tell you,
know.
after hearing what you just said and knowing the story,
Hmm.
this might be the only way it could be adapted. Now I'm thinking.
Interesting.
Wow. Wow. Okay. This is exciting, Annette. Thank you for bringing that. It'd be so funny if you just made it up. I know you didn't, Annette, but like it would be so funny if you were just trolling me.
I will say also the thing about Leica that's interesting, the head of that company is the son of like a Nike executive, which I bring up because he's like wealthier than God. And I think that the reason why Leica is able to make these movies and like spend so much time making these stop motion works of art is because he's just like really wealthy and does not require money. So like all everything you're saying about like money and like adaptations, like it unfortunately you need money to make good art,
That
I guess.
is that is that is kind of how it works. At least to get it off the ground. Um,
Yeah.
there's a lot of buy-in on that. I mean, there's definitely certain things that can be cheap that can be great art, but in the world of television and streaming services, not a, you just need the backing. Scottish Fool said the House of the Dragon discourse permanently damaged part of my brain. I swear to God, I'm not exaggerating. I deleted Twitter before season 2 dropped, and it was so peaceful. Couldn't agree with you more. And recently, Olivia Cook talked about how her and the cast have been receiving so many death threats based on their character. Folks,
Why are people so
yeah,
stupid?
we gotta attempt to like talk about this and unpack this. There are people who watch a show with dragons and think it's reality television. Do you understand how insane that is? These people vote. Like what are we doing?
Yeah. It's yeah.
I don't understand.
I'm not on Twitter anymore, which
Me
I
neither.
deleted it when certain things happened to the ownership of it, and it's been great. I sometimes miss Twitter because I think it was like a great place to, you know, when you have like a really funny thought and you're like, where am I going to put this thought?
Mm.
I would put that on Twitter, and you would get like a couple dozen likes, and you'd be like, yeah, I feel good about myself. But then there's all the people who are like sending death threats to actors, and yeah, like I don't miss that part of it.
I mean, that is just, those people are operating on such a different wavelength than me. I just could not imagine watching a television show and being like, you know, that guy, kid who plays Joffrey, he needs to die. Like, that is such a wild thing to do. And
Yeah,
it's not like a ton of people probably, but it doesn't have to be. It only has to be
yeah,
1% of the audience, and that's too many.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know. It's
That's the nice thing about the book community is that you have to like actually read books or be interested in books in
mhm.
order to interact with book content, and the that just precludes so many people, which is nice.
I think that is the biggest thing. There's a certain buy-in, and we get passionate about our opinions. Like, people have passionate disagreements, but I think, especially if someone's actually finished the book, I think there's like a level of respect of like, well, you did put in the time. You might not have got the same things out of me, but like we are hopefully operating close to the same level about this thing. Whereas, especially with television shows, I mean, half these people are on their phones watching the
Hmm.
episodes. It's just not the same thing. You really can't do that with a book. And I
Yeah.
think that the discourse is richer for it. I think that's also why it's a smaller niche, especially online. But
Hmm.
it doesn't bother me as long as it's more quality. And I'm sure it could be better, but it's certainly better than the average movie/TV show discourse, in my opinion. So. Uh,
Yeah.
JCM Burns said, I used to shout jokes from my cubicle. Now I work from home, so I need Twitter, or it's just me telling jokes alone to myself. You know what? I support that. That sounds like the best use you could probably get of it. I do not miss the platform at all. The only thing I miss is maybe getting like to the second sports updates. I thought that was pretty interesting. Outside of
Hmm.
that, you eventually hear about it anyways. And do I really need to know that Micah Parsons got traded to the Green Bay Packers as soon as it happened? No, because it's all they're going to talk about for a week on ESPN anyways. So I'll hear about it. I promise. Derry said, even the most passionate disagreement in BookTube comes from a place of understanding that books are personally unique to all of us and subjective stories can't be the same. I think this is true mostly, but there is also some ugliness that I see. Uh, Unfortunately, it usually ends up happening on older works where people are not keen on people pointing out them being products of their times and then reinforcing the fact that it has wrong messaging as they say that message in the comment to the woman making the video. I've seen that a lot, unfortunately.
Hmm.
But I do think in like this corner, the disagreements tend to be peaceful mostly,
Yeah.
which is nice. You know, a book me and you did not agree on that I've been thinking about since probably last year, I think, is Goblin Emperor by Catherine Addison.
Mm. Yeah.
You loved that book, and I read that book
Yeah.
and was like, "What's all this wee shit? What is all this wee shit?" And I hadn't really read a ton of slice of life, and
Hmm.
I think it might have been a victim of when it was read for me, and I've been
Hmm.
really considering giving it another shot in the near future.
Hmm.
Did you read
Yeah.
this sequel? Isn't there a sequel now?
Yeah, I will say if you did not like The Goblin Emperor, you will not like the sequel because even less stuff happens. It's an even more like just this guy's thoughts and him like doing his job basically kind of book. It's been a while since I've read both The Goblin Emperor and the sequel, so I don't remember them that much, but I remember The Goblin Emperor just being sort of like a cozy book.
Hmm.
Um and yeah, I understand why people wouldn't like it, but I honestly I don't remember enough about it to defend it.
Oh,
But
you don't have to defend anything. I know what
okay,
happened. I've
okay.
never heard of anyone saying we, and I didn't even know anything about it. Like, I was just dumb. And also, I don't think I gave it much of a chance. I was thinking
Mm.
goblins in a very specific sense of goblins.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
just what you think of when you think of goblins. I thought to be up to shenanigans and such. And No, it's actually very much a slice of life, and there's a lot of political maneuvering going around, and a character who's very unsure. And
Yeah.
I think I could find something to like about it enough to finish it because I did DNF. I DNF'd it like 20% in it, if that.
Okay.
So I really want to give it a kind of another shot. But I love you describing book 2 as more boring. It's like back again with 2 times more navel gazing. It's like, what a pitch for a sequel.
Yeah. No, I don't think you would like the sequel at all.
Also, when we were talking about, maybe some of the worst discourse, Tom Orange said my James Bond video brought some of these people out, and Library Ladder followed up with, I deeply regret making my video about the James Bond books 3 years ago. So,
Oh, what happened with James Bond?
well, I think James Bond is much a product of its time, those books, and I
Mhm.
think that there's people who cherish them, and they're probably really important to them. And when people might point out some of the less charitable things about them nowadays, people get very upset and very defensive. That's
Mm,
how it was and how it should be, and
yeah. There's a lot of that.
yeah, no good, no good. Now let's talk about something we agree on. Okay,
Okay. Mhm.
Dagger and the Coin. Tell these people to read Dagger and the Coin. They won't listen to me, Rid. They never listen to me. They'll listen to you.
Okay. Dagger and the Coin is amazing. I actually just finished it uh on Sunday, I think. This week I finished it and I loved it. I was looking for another series to sink my teeth into and it was perfect. I think it's actually much more character driven than I originally thought
Hmm.
in my first video about the series. I did a review of The Dragon's Path, the first book. I describe it as more cerebral, but as the series goes on, you really start to fall in love with these characters and you start to love and hate characters. And that's something that I love about from the show, from the show for Game of Thrones, where you hate a character and then you love them in a different scene.
Hmm.
And Abraham does that really well throughout the series. And yeah, it's just a really interesting plot. And I think Abraham is very aware of epic fantasy and is like a fan of epic fantasy, but he brings his own spin on certain tropes. Like, for example, Marcus Wester. He's like the classic grizzled hero who has a tragic backstory. And I was not bought in on Marcus Wester until the last book. And then I was like, oh, okay, I see where he was going with this the whole time. Because it always was like, he's so like aware of all the tropes, except for with Marcus. And then in the last book, I was like, okay, I see what he's been building up to this whole time. And um, yeah, I gave each book 4 stars, except for the last book. I gave it 5 stars. And the last book, I think, made me appreciate the rest of the series more.
He is
So
known to do that. That is
yeah,
one of his traits as an author, for sure.
yeah, and yeah, I just loved the last book, and I think that if I were to go back, I would probably bump up like The King's Blood to 5 stars, maybe even The Dragon's Path. Like it just is an all-time favorite series of mine now. So I'm really happy that you talked about this like years ago, and I like had always had it in the back of my mind as like a series I wanted to get into. And I was like, this year I was kind of in a little bit of a fantasy specific reading slump after reading Wind and Truth last year. I like kind of didn't read a lot of fantasy this year until I start pick that up, and then I was like, oh yeah, we're so back with fantasy.
Yeah, for me, it was one of the first series I read trying to find like the next A Song of Ice and Fire. And of course, there's nothing quite like that for me, but you hit the nail on the head. It's the character dynamics of the situation that they're placed in. Like at the exact moment Abraham decides to give you a glance into their head, that can
Hmm.
make you completely flip on a character that you just hated prior. And
Hmm.
that is where I think Abraham does a fantastic job and is definitely like top tier, top of his class. Dagger and the Coin has to be to me the most like under. I don't love saying the word underrated, but I'll just say underappreciated maybe fantasy series. I wish
Yeah.
there were a lot more fans of it. Anitha is a huge fan. She's talking to Daniel Abraham tomorrow, and she screamed at you and said she would
What?
like to talk to you when you finish it. Said we need to discuss Dagger and the Coin once I finish it. So,
Yeah. I'm down anytime
oh, once she
to
finishes
discuss.
it, you finished it. So
Yeah.
Anitha needs to finish it. I have the same feelings in a lot of ways as about Dagger and the Coin as I do the Long Price Quartet, where it's the whole thing together kind of makes everything better. But one thing that did happen with Dagger and the Coin is that I just felt like Abraham took it in ways in book 4 and 5 that maybe I wouldn't have preferred. But that doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means that he had different ideas. And to be fair, the ideas I think are very different than what's like presented in epic fantasy. So I commend him for making probably the less obvious choices with that. And that is the series I would love to reread. Though there is part of me that's like worried, like, will I still like it as much? But watching you enjoy it as you go through it makes me feel a little bit more confident that I would. And Getter is
Oh yeah.
I mean,
And he's incredible. He's definitely like the backbone. Well, I say that, and then it's also like Cithrin is amazing as well. And I loved
yes.
her character arc. So it's really like an ensemble series, like or an ensemble cast where I would say that like any individual character, they're not like a Fitz, where like you could have an entire book of just Cithrin, but it's when you put Cithrin in opposition to Getter, in opposition to Marcus, in opposition to Dawson, and like that tension that they all create with each other is so good.
Dawson.
And I love Dawson. Dawson is such a fascinating character.
That whole storyline is just a roller coaster, and the way it affects his family. I mean, it's just, dude, what a good series. It just, man, maybe I should reread them now. Maybe I should do it. Like I've been really wanting to reread First Law because I had so much fun with the Devils, but I think I would rather reread Dagger and the Coin first because I feel like I would like to make more videos about it because I want to get more people to read it. And Chris Warman, God bless him, said, I bought book 1 when Jimmy first mentioned it years ago. Still haven't picked it up. We'll have to now. So this is why we're a great duo. I get him to buy it with the affiliate link, of course. And then you get him to actually read the thing. Because apparently I can only sell the book. I can't get anyone to read it.
That's the 1-2 punch of what is it, Jinema, as Derry called it.
Jinema. That is a great combo name. Like I'm gonna think fondly on that. Do you think you'll try Long Price Quartet?
Oh yeah, certainly. I definitely want to. And Paul, who was in the chat earlier, described it as a Bildungsroman. So I have to read it.
Yes, and Paul knows what he's talking about. And the Long Price Quartet, I think, is a little bit rougher off the rip. Not just because it's slow, but I actually think it's like kind of. I had trouble almost following the book at first because there is kind of like a solidified magic system. I don't want to say magic system, but like magic system. And it's fascinating. I mean, it's really interesting, but it took me a while to kind of understand why it was such a big deal. But then once it clicks, you're like, oh, that is a huge deal. Oh my God. Then the books, 4 books, very short, all 4 less than a Sanderson novel. And it tells a tale of friendship over a life. And I think that is really powerful once you finish the whole thing, looking back on it. So I think you'll very much enjoy it. But if the start is a little rough for you, I implore you to push through because I think that you'll like, especially book 2.
Well, given my reaction to Mockingbird and The Goblin Emperor, I think I just like boring books.
I've been saying that for years. I've been saying that.
This might be a good sign.
I love boring books. I love books that grandmas enjoy. I don't know if you know this, but Barbara Kingsolver is a grandma author, apparently. Like, grandmas love her books. And I'll be in line with them, you know. I'll be there, smelling like mothballs. It's going to be fantastic.
Jamie, I was going to mention this in the beginning, but I didn't. But I've been watching. I didn't watch any booktube when I was like not making booktube content because it was just like too much FOMO. But like since coming back, I've like went back and I think I've watched like all of the Chatting with Nuts. So like I'm caught up on all the lore and I feel like I've developed like almost like a parasocial relationship with you and the guests and like the chat. So like I'm like looking at the chat and I'm like, oh yeah, there's like Simon the dinosaur and like there's my buddy, like my close personal associates in the chat who I know so well. And so yeah, just like I know your like grandma lore, like all of it. I'm caught up on it.
I never want to suppose anything, but that makes me so happy. I'm so happy you have a parasocial relationship. That makes me so thrilled. Go ahead.
No, yeah, this is a bigger deal for me than you can imagine because this is like Stan meeting Eminem. Like the voices that have been in my head while I fall asleep for like the past few months are alive and real.
It's hilarious because you've been on the show before.
I know, but it's like it's been a while.
It has been a while. It's been years, and this is much different. I mean, it's the same spirit, I think, but it is different. I mean, a lot of people watch more so now. I think the first 20
Mhm.
episodes probably didn't have a combined 1,000 views, and now, each of them get about 3,000 to 5,000 depending. Uh, Chris Foreman said, "Rid's terminally online superpower strike again." JCM Burns said, "It's so fun to meet people IRL when you have that parasocial relationship first. Like, hello, my friend. Oh, wait, you don't know me. I just know you."
Yeah. Well, I took that to its ultimate end, and I'm marrying one of the people that I had a parasocial relationship with. So it's great.
I've seen many people begin relationships and solidify them with marriage from the book community. And honestly, most of them go very well. So that's nice
Yeah.
because it doesn't
Yeah.
always go well out
Yeah,
there.
it doesn't always. I think it's actually like I have a theory on this, and I think it's because like Nat and I would have never met in real life. Like
Hmm.
he lives on the East Coast, I lived in California, and the reason we met was purely because of our common interests. And I think that's like the best way to meet someone is like books are such a huge part of my life. And so
Yeah.
it makes so much sense that I met Nat and he's like so aligned with me and like we have so like our taste in books is almost identical. And so like talking to Nat about books, that's a big reason why I took such a big break is that I started dating Nat and like I was just talk to him all the time about books and like I was like I don't need to talk to anyone else cuz Nat's the best. It's like yeah, it's just like a really good way to meet people, I guess, accidentally.
Yeah. And it doesn't even have to be, obviously romantic. It can be just deep, meaningful friendship.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so fortunate to have made so many connections. Is there is there a book that you all disagree on though?
There are,
Like, what's the
well, like,
biggest
for
one?
Wheel of Time, we disagree on. Oh my god. There's definitely one that I'm blanking on. We tend to have, like, disagreements about like, okay, this is not a book, but Severance. Nat doesn't like the second season of Severance, and I think he's just wrong. I'm like, okay, he's not here to defend himself, so this is slightly unfair. So I'm gonna win this argument because I'm gonna portray myself as the like the best in this argument. But like Nat is always like, oh, they like do too much setup and there's not enough payoff. And I'm like, it's the second season of the show. Like there's gonna be another season. Like you have to let them do some setup and it's gonna be good. So that's a disagreement we've had. And then Nat has this thing where he says that The Hobbit is portal fantasy. And I just disagree because I'm like, the whole point of The Hobbit is that Bilbo is like going on this journey. Whereas, like in Portal Fantasy, the whole point is that you don't go on a journey. It's like that whiplash of like going through a portal and like being in a new place. But Nat is like, no, it's like a metaphorical portal fantasy because as soon as he steps out his door, he's like stepping into a new world. And we've disagreed on that a lot. So we talk, these are disagreements we have.
That's kind of, I've never heard anyone say a Hobbit as portal fantasy. I, I'm inclined. Dude,
See, and this is
he's wrong. All right, let's not gang up on Matt now. This isn't that's not fair, but he
I
is
know
kind of wrong.
if he was here, he would make his case better than
Oh, he's a
I
very
am.
well spoken guy. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and I believe he had problems with Fitz and the Fool, if I remember
He
correctly.
did. He does. He has a video about it
Yeah, that
on
video
his
was great.
channel.
It hurt me
Yeah.
to watch because I love the trilogy, but great video.
Yeah.
I feel like any opinion of the Hobbit that is that spicy, people are gonna have some sort of opinion. Narnia
I
is
know.
portal fantasy, I believe, right? Isn't the portal in the
Yeah. Yeah.
wardrobe?
Narnia is portal fantasy, like
You're reading
by
it.
the
You can
classical
confirm.
definition.
Yeah, you can confirm this. Uh,
Yeah.
so
Well,
that
you brought it up. Nat and I disagree on Fitz and the Fool. I love Fitz and the Fool, and yeah, we we disagree on it, but I think he has some really good points about the flaws in the last trilogy. Like, for
Mhm.
example, the over explaining that you brought up earlier.
It was very much there. I very much said, okay, I don't like that. Moving on. I'm in. I got to find out what happens next. So I think
Hmm.
I was willing to pass over. I think on a reread it would bother me a lot more, probably, maybe not. But I also like enjoy when people look at things from a different perspective, like just having the conversation of like, well, what if we like think about The Hobbit as a portal fantasy? Like, how does that change the story and the meaning behind it?
Hmm.
Like, I think there's some value to that, at least in my
Yeah.
opinion. And these are things that are talked over time and time and time again. So a new angle at it kind of breathes some fresh air into something that
Hmm.
maybe starts to grow a little bit tired or people are so cemented into their views of. But I do think that we have to just let things that are series or TV series, whatever, any type of series, I think we have to let them cook. I think we have to
Hmm.
let them, depending on the contract that you've signed up with the people who are digesting and are ingesting your story. Like for instance, I think Malazan's leash is very short, considering that they're all very much tales of the Malazan Book of the Fallen. Like each book does need to deliver on the promises, I think, because it's set up to be that way.
Hmm.
But with every season kind of leading into the next with a ton of continuity, I think that it's okay for a season to maybe have more setup than deliverance. But you do have to deliver at some point, and whether or not
Yeah.
that's enough delivering, it will be up to the individual person. I actually remember saying this back in like season 3 and 4 of Game of Thrones, is that I felt like the heat was so high on the good guys, which in wrestling, the heat is just like beating down the good guy, right? Like you're getting the crowd angry because you're beating up their favorite person. And I was like, there's so much heat in Game of Thrones that the
Hmm.
comeback will have to be the most beautifully executed comeback of all time to make it feel worth it, like the payoff, you know.
Hmm.
And of course, we can make jokes about, well, we'll never get the payoff, but
Yeah.
that was always something I kind of worried about. And I do think that the show struggled to deliver on that, mainly because they didn't understand the story that they were telling by the end. Unfortunately, like Dan and Dave just cashed out essentially, which sucks. But it's interesting thinking about things that happen over a long period of time. I thought about this a lot with Stormlight Archive and how just kind of disappointed I was with Wind and Truth. Like the further I've gotten away from it, the more I've disliked it, I think. And
Hmm.
I just wonder in 20 or 30 years when it's finished, if I'm reading each one, like, will I feel differently about those books knowing what came after? You know, it can recontextualize something that I experienced at that point 20 years ago.
Hmm.
It's kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked Wind and Truth, and I I feel bad because I just have no thoughts about Stormlight beyond that I've read the books. And I feel like I just don't think about those books as much as I should given how long they are. And
Yeah.
there are books that I've read that are so much shorter. Like I know you've read Claire Keegan, and her books are so short and so impactful. And she says so much in such a small amount of space. And yeah, it's yeah, I don't know. Stormlight is an interesting series.
Yeah. There's something to be said about quantity and quality, I think, in the
Mhm.
way people approach things. I was just talking to a friend today, and she's reading Claire and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro, and she
Mhm.
is enjoying it. And one of the most remarkable things about Claire and the Sun is how much is left up to your interpretation about the world state, because it's kind of a futuristic sci-fi. But he doesn't tell you every single thing that's happened, and he would just say like, "Oh yeah, there's like a commune in the middle of town that's patrolled by these white dudes," and you're like, okay, well, what happened? Why is there a commune in like the middle of the
Mhm.
city ran by white? And you have to start to almost like, okay, so the character's acting like this. So what kind of social situation down there would create something like this and make a father leave a child or whatever it might be? And it's just like, oh my god, like to be able
Mhm.
to like to kind of put that there and just let it sit takes a lot of guts, but also trust your reader to do a lot of the heavy lifting. And
Mhm.
when I read like Stormlight, for example, I don't feel like I'm ever doing a much heavy lifting, which is fine.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't want to do heavy lifting, but it
Yeah.
just doesn't
Yeah.
have that same maybe longevity in my brain as some other things.
Yeah. And that's why I think I I don't have really any interest in any of the other Cosmere books, at least for now. Like I kind of want to read Mistborn, but whenever I go to pick up a Sanderson book, there's always like another book that I'm like, oh, I'd rather read, like Piranesi, for example.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's a trilogy, and they get bigger as they go. I think. Actually, I think Well Ascension might be a little bit shorter. I
Hmm.
have no idea if you would enjoy it. I think there's things about it you would find interesting, but I have no idea. I will definitely read more Brandon Sanderson. I actually have Isles of Emberdark. I didn't realize that I backed that whenever I got my Words of Radiance leather round, so I actually own that book, and
Hmm.
I didn't know I owned it. So I'm kind of interested about that. I've always have I shouldn't say always. Sometimes I have fun reading Brandon Sanderson, but other times I get frustrated with myself and I'm like, this is like the 12th, 13th, 14th book I'm reading from this guy who I
Hmm.
am decidedly very mid on. Why am I doing this again? Like I could be finding my
Yeah.
neck. Like I need to read I Who Have Never Known Men. Why am I not
Mm.
reading that right now? I don't know
Yeah.
because I'm a moron.
That book is getting so much buzz all of a sudden. And I think it's a TikTok thing.
It's
Which
also
is
very short.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I've just like been seeing it everywhere, and I also want to read it now because everyone's talking about it.
Yeah, I had heard about it quite a while ago, and it has been really big in my patron Discord. Like people have read it,
Mm.
and also they finish it and I go, "Yeah, you should read this. Like this is exactly what you like in books." So,
Hmm.
and it's like 120 pages or something. I need to just do it, uh,
Yeah.
but here I am, not reading it like an idiot. Elliot said,
What are
"Has
you
anyone?"
reading?
I just want
Oh,
to say
sorry.
I'll probably read Buried Giant next, if not The Unconsoled. I don't know when, but I would like to read it fairly soon. I just finished Mockingbird, as you know, and I am in the last little bit of Small Gods by Terry Pratchett, which I very much enjoyed. It's
Mm.
probably been my favorite Pratchett so far.
Hmm.
And I am also reading, I'm supposed to be reading The Armageddon Rag by Gurm, but I just have not had the like drive to pick it up. It's not because it's bad. It's largely considered to be George R. R. Martin's worst book. It almost
Mm.
ended his publishing career. I, I don't know. I've read like the first quarter of it, and I actually quite like it so far. And I don't even understand any of the '60s music references that it's doing. So I'm supposed to be reading that, but I'm not really. The next book I'm reading is Book Lovers by Emily Henry.
Oh, exciting. Is that an Evie thing?
I, Alan was gifted the book, I think, by Evie or someone. And
Uh-huh.
Alan is, I got to read this freaking thing or whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, I will also read it then. And Kelsey has read it and enjoyed it. And Christina, Alan's wife, wants to read it. So the idea
Hmm.
is we all four read it. Kelsey rereads it. And we're going to do a group discussion about it, especially with me and Alan
Oh.
probably not being
Mhm.
the target audience. I imagine I'll be
Yeah.
a little bit more open minded than Alan. It'll be interesting. And it's also very short, which is nice. I think
Hmm.
it's only like 200 or 300 pages. So
Hmm. I read one Emily Henry beach read, I
beach
think
read.
was the one I read, and I liked it. I thought it was okay.
Just okay.
Yeah, it wasn't like my favorite thing of all time. Yeah, I think I didn't like the romance as much, and I was like, well, this is a romance book, so I feel like I should be like really like kicking my feet,
Yeah.
and I wasn't.
Well, Anitha said she just finished Book Lovers and loved it. I saw your review in the Discord, Anitha. I've just seen enough people read Emily Henry books and not hate them and actually actively like them a lot that I
Mhm.
think it'd be kind of fun to try one out. And I've not read a romance book really ever, unless you count some of the Hobb books as romance, which maybe. So I
Hmm.
think that it'll be interesting to see how I feel. I'm also very ignorant to the tropes of that genre. So I imagine
Mhm.
like I'm gonna be like, that was sick, and people are gonna be like, there's 80 million other books that have done this before, and I'll be like, meh, I don't care. I,
I
I
feel that way about like anime and manga.
oh yeah, yeah, me too.
Have you read Cradle?
I have not. I have I have all of the books for free on Amazon
Yeah.
because he gave them out like 80 million times. But I've been told by so many people that I would hate it, and I'm
Uh-huh.
not. I don't think I would read it, but I
Mhm.
own them. I don't know. Have you?
Yeah, I'm on like the I'm on Reaper, which is like the 10th book, and there's like 12 books. And
Okay.
they are definitely like, they're kind of like Sanderson adjacent, maybe slightly worse than Sanderson. But I think part of the reason why I enjoy them is because it's so like manga inspired, but I've never read manga. So I read it and I'm like, wow, this is so cool. Like a tournament arc. I've never never read this before. And it's really fun for me to read them because of that. But yeah, I don't know that you would enjoy them. They're not like high literature by any means.
Yeah, JC Adversity. Cradle was so much fun, but it isn't good. I've known
Yeah.
so many people who have actually read them all, and at the end be like, "Yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that." And I'm like, "Oh, you hate them?" And like, "No, I just probably shouldn't have read all of them. I probably should have just stopped at some point." I think I do like tournament stuff, specifically for
Mhm.
Dragon Ball Z. But the problem is, every time I read something that's like progression or tournament, I just go, "Oh, I should rewatch Dragon Ball Z," and then I rewatch Dragon Ball Z, and then I never get
Mhm.
back to the thing that inspired me to do that rewatch. So I I don't know. I'd like to think that I would get something out of it, but Daniel said I'm 95% certain you would not like Cradle.
Yeah, it's like it is not good.
Oh man, Mitch has been hounding me to read The Unconsoled, and said I might reread The Unconsoled right now. Wild things happening on the regular in the CWN chat. Mitch, I will read The Unconsoled. It's just between that and Buried Giant for
Hmm.
Ishiguro. Have you read any Ishiguro?
No, I haven't, but Nat, to redeem him, he loves The Remains of the Day. And I know that's your favorite from him.
Oh, you could make an art. I would argue that it is maybe a perfect book. That's the one book I look at and I'm like, is this the best book I've ever read? Maybe,
Hmm.
maybe. I think I've
Wow.
enjoyed books a little bit more, but when I really sit down and think about it, and also for that book to have worked for so many people that I have recommended it to that it had no business working for, I think is
Hmm.
kind of a testament to how good it is. I don't think any of us felt like we could ever relate to an English butler in post World War II, but here we are. And Demon Copperhead is actually up there as well. Demon Copperhead is easily the most successful recommendation book of all time for me.
Yeah.
I have probably, like, in proximity to my recommendation and then people recommending it from my recommendation, I think there's probably 40 or 50 people that read Demon Copperhead and not a single one of them did not at least just like it.
Yeah. It's such a good book. And the voice that he has is like, it's just like immediately like gripping.
Yeah. It has just a certain tone in a way that it just flows, feels so personal. And I think
Hmm.
Remains of the Day actually ends up kind of feeling that way, even though there's a little bit of a barrier with how proper
Hmm.
Stevens is. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think Remains is like one of the best
Would
books I've
you
ever read.
would you describe it as like he's like repressed?
I think he's repressing himself. Yeah.
Hmm.
One of the things Ishiguro loves, and he inspects in all of his works, and it's something that I'm really fascinated by, and it's one of the reasons why I really like Book of the New Sun and pretty much everything Wolfian, is memory and
Hmm.
recollection. And Ishiguro, I think in Pale View of Hills with his debut, really went for it with memory
Hmm.
and mostly delivered like a really ambitious debut. It's not a perfect book. There's issues with repetition. I also think that it maybe needed to be a little longer in some pieces, possibly. But
Hmm.
eh, the other works that I've read by him, where he has a character recontextualizing their memory or misremembering, is just the best I've ever seen it. It's just
Hmm.
incredible. And Stevens is constantly coping. The whole book,
Hmm.
he's just coping. And
Yeah.
whenever he cannot cope any longer, it like broke me. Like I was like,
Oh.
and the whole time you're pissed at him. You're like, you're kind of a jerk. You're kind of the
Hmm.
worst. And like you need a reality check. And he gets his
Hmm.
reality check, and you're like that's the human part of us. Is
Mm.
even when someone gets that reality check, we're like, oh. Like, have you ever went off on someone? Have you ever argued with someone, like went off on them, and as soon as they understand why you're mad, you feel
Hmm.
horrible. You're like, oh, I
Oh
should.
yeah, yeah, all the time. Yeah, yeah.
That's what Stevens gives me. That's what I get
Mm.
out of Stevens and Remains of the Day. And I think that is one of the most like one of the worst feelings, but also one of the most human feelings that you can
Yeah,
have. Yeah.
yeah. Charlotte Bronte, her other book that I've read, Villette, is also about a very repressed character, Lucy Snow. And she similarly, like, she goes through life and just sort of like repeatedly denying herself. And you're reading this and you're watching her be this like very contained person. And then she has these moments where she just breaks loose and like goes crazy. And yeah, it's just like kind of beautiful to see that, but also so heartbreaking. And that book is like heart wrenching. The ending is very
Mm,
heart wrenching.
I like heart wrenching. I like
Yeah.
I like getting the heartstrings tugged on.
I wouldn't recommend Villette as like anyone's first Charlotte Bronte. It's a very long book, and I think it's not a perfect book, but it does touch on those same things of like a character repeatedly denying themselves and like putting themselves in this very like small space that they can occupy.
So, would you say Jane Eyre is a good place to start with her?
Yes, yeah, you
Okay.
should start with Jane Eyre.
I'm also just trying to look at every single thing that she's written because I'm
Mhm.
almost positive I own multiple books by her, which is kind of sad for me. I have so many books that I haven't read. That's so bad. That's so,
You
so
have read a
bad.
lot though. I mean, I watch your streams and I'm like, wow, Jimmy's reading a lot, and I love how you read so widely. Like, I really appreciate that. I've been getting like really good recs from your stream. Like, I mean, I'm glad I read Mockingbird. I would have never read that if I hadn't watched your stream.
And I would have never read it if it wasn't for Library Ladder. I will say a lot of like the more obscure like sci-fi stuff that I see or
Hmm.
post-apocalyptic comes almost directly from Bridger. He is
Hmm.
just so well read. I mean, he has a couple decades head start on me, of course, but he always just pulls out something. And I'm like, well, that sounds interesting. How have I never heard of that? But I do have a conscious effort. Maybe it's not conscious. I have a pull to try new things. I just to
Hmm.
keep it fresh. And the fact that it's kind of resulted in me reading widely and then getting other people to do that. Like I take a lot of pride in that. So I appreciate you saying
Yeah.
that. It makes me feel good. I
Yeah,
just
I
think,
think that's no, sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that I think that's like the thing that you do the best is like you take recommendations from people and you are not like afraid to try something that's out of your wheelhouse. And I think that makes your take it also makes your takes on like fantasy better because I think you are
Hmm.
coming from like a wider understanding of fiction. And I like that about listening to you talk about books.
Thank you. That's very, very kind of you. It's very, very
You're
nice.
welcome.
I'm so bad
Gotta
at
make
taking
sure you
compliments.
invite me back.
Yes. Yes. There you go. Now you're getting it. I do love pulling inspiration. I mean, kind of what you just did with Hobb and Jane Eyre, right? Like that is
Mhm.
those things to me add a lot of value to the conversation. But I'll tell you another thing is like I read Ishiguro, I read some Murakami, I read the other things, and I'm like, this is all very close to fantasy and sci-fi.
Oh
It's
yeah.
really
Oh yeah.
David Mitchell is fantasy. Okay. I know
Mhm.
there's people who will die on the hill like Jared Henderson, but I just feel as if we get too caught up in the labels. We get too caught up in the labels, and there is magic in every book that you read. It just depends on whether it's
Mhm.
on the nose magic or it's not.
I mean, there's an argument to be made that Jane Eyre is a fantasy book. There's elements in that gothic elements that are like ghosts and like she has these visions. Like if you know if fantasy was taken more seriously, maybe Jane Eyre would be shelved in the fantasy section. It's a little bit of a stretch. I recommend. I recognize that, but yeah.
It's like when I watched all of Susanna Clark's work slowly get plucked out of the fantasy section and put into the fiction section. I'm like, there it
Hmm.
is. She made it. She did
Yeah.
it. She got out. she
Yeah.
she got out the hood with that one. She did it.
Yeah, she did. Uh,
Do you feel like since like you're making videos again and you're doing this booktube thing, do you feel like your reading has changed immediately from coming back and doing videos, or does your reading still feel the same?
oh yeah, I feel like almost immediately, like this whole year, um, like I kind of half the year I was off BookTube, and so in May when I came back, I was like, oh, I've been in this like fantasy reading slump, and then I came back, and I started reading Dagger and the Coin, and I immediately was like, "Oh my god, I love fantasy!" And like, there's so much energy in the
Hmm.
fantasy book community. And then I read The Will of the Many because so many people were talking about it. And I usually hate reading books that are like very popular while they're popular, and I think it's just like out of fear because like I don't want I don't want to be like part of the sort of wider discourse and get attention in certain ways. But I really loved The Will of the Many. So yeah, I immediately started reading more fantasy as soon as I started watching BookTube again
There is a certain
or
level
making videos.
of fun for hype, right? And to join the conversation of something that's ongoing. And there are times where it works out really well for me. I read Dungeon Crawler Carl. I thought it was just okay. I haven't really continued on. I probably will someday. But like The Will of the
Hmm.
Many had enough stuff in it to where I was like, okay, I can get excited about it, like a next book release. And obviously,
Hmm.
we're really excited for No Life Forsaken. But like, how many people do we know that are gonna, like a handful? Probably we could probably fit them all
Yeah.
into one StreamYard link and do a discussion about it, right?
Yeah, we
Whereas, well,
should.
we should. We honestly should. It'd be great. That's a great thing we could do, Andy. Instead of Narnia, we should talk about No Life Forsaken. Uh, the Will of the Many and its sequel, like, is just going to have so many different voices, which can be taxing.
Hmm.
But there is something fun to jump on that train and enjoy it. I guess I will never enjoy something because there is hype around it, but it certainly is fun when it works out.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I Yeah, yeah, I think the other thing with like something being popular is that I feel like my voice gets lost in the din of things.
Mhm.
And I don't like that. I guess maybe that's why I don't like reading popular things. It's not because I'm special, it's because I want to be special and I can't be when there's like 100,000 people reading The Will of the Many.
I think you're pretty special, Rid. I think what you do and with your essays, I think is something that we could see. We would like to see more of, but it's probably hard for people to feel as structured and as quality as yours does. Like I know I would struggle with that. I have. I mean, I've been trying to write some essay videos for a long time, and they never seem to come
Hmm.
together. So the fact that you're able to do that and articulate so well, and also in a timely manner, by the way, like you're good at being pretty brief. Uh, I'm so jealous of that. I like long form, of course, but
Hmm.
there's a limit on how many people are going to sit down for 2.5 hours and listen to me to
Hmm.
me blabber on. And I watched one of your videos the other day, and you were like, "This is going to be like a rambling video," or the title said "rambling" in it, and it was like 12 minutes. And I'm like, I wish my rambles were 12 minutes. I'm so jealous of that. Um, are essays your favorite thing to make about books?
Um, I think they're the most satisfying, but I would say that like this recent Robin Hobb video that I did gave me so much heartburn. I spent so long revising the script for it, and like I really wanted to get it right. And it was honestly like by the end, I I stayed up till like 3 a.m. editing it like the night before because I have this thing where I'm like trying to post every Sunday at noon, and I like won't let myself not do that. So I was like, I'm gonna do I have to stay up and I have to post it at 12 tomorrow. So I was like staying up till 3 a.m. And by the end I was just like so sick of it. Um so yeah, essays are satisfying once they're over, but like the process of it is kind of difficult. And it like don't feel bad about like taking time writing essays because like the idea for that I had that like years ago, and it's only like recently that I felt like okay, I'm gonna like actually sit down and try to write this out, and then it took a really long time to get it to work. So I would say they're not my favorite. They're it's just like something I feel some weird like inner feeling that I'm like I have to write this, and it's like why am I doing this? Like no, no one's forcing me. Why am I putting? Why am I making myself write this essay? Like it, I could just be doing like a book haul.
My top 10 books on my bottom shelf. Uh, Elliot said, so she went through a Fitzian experience while making the Hobb video. Fitting.
That's perfect actually.
I think if you feel a pull to do something and you feel some sort of obligation to it without real obligation is probably a good sign that you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Did you stew on that topic for a really long time? Or like for me, my essays always come from shower thoughts. And then by the time I'm out of the shower, I've talked it out in the shower and I'm like, oh, I don't need to make a video. I've talked it out. I'm good. Like that's how my process works.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of my thoughts, like I'll go, especially during the pandemic, I would go on like really long walks and like go for runs, and I
Mhm.
would get all these thoughts. So yeah, but I think for me, it's the opposite where I find it hard to like have a coherent thought unless I write it down and like
Mm.
really structure it and think it through. Um, but yeah, you should. I would love to hear more of your essays if you post them. I would love to watch those.
Admittedly, sometimes they just come out in these kind of
Hmm.
discussions. Like I'll just end
Yeah.
up like the Ishiguro and memory thing. Like that is definitely like a piece of like a larger dialogue I've had in my head for a long time.
Hmm.
My problem with myself is once I say something, even if it's not on camera, I feel like it's out of and I'm like done. Like I'm like, okay.
Mm,
It's like I almost can't
interesting.
help but to just like vomit it out. And once it's off my chest, I feel almost no desire to do it again.
Mhm,
I don't know why that is. I don't
mhm.
know if that could be classified as a character flaw, but if it is, it's a pretty big one for me. It happens a lot. Uh, and I
Yeah,
wish it didn't.
interesting. I mean, I don't see it as a flaw because I mean, yeah, I don't know. That's interesting.
Yeah, if I just stopped talking, I could probably do a lot more
Well, if you
things.
stopped talking, I would have no one to have a parasocial relationship with.
Do you feel like there are parasocial relationships that are positive?
Oh yeah, certainly, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I
I
mean,
think that like the entirety of booktube is like one big parasocial relationship. And like as with all things, like you can have a healthy way of going about it. Um and it's just like
mhm,
a I think the healthiest way is, people just connecting with someone who's across the ocean from them and like being able to find community, and like that's the beautiful part of it. Of course there's like terrible things that happen because of
sure.
parasocial relationships, but like yeah, there's the vast majority of it is positive, I would say.
Yeah, I think that it has such a negative connotation when it's discussed that we kind of lose sight of the fact that it's kind of ambiguous. Like it's agnostic. It doesn't like it is whatever you make it, which is
Hmm.
largely true of a lot of things. But I have found parasocial relationship either way, whether it's in regards to me or me to someone else, have generally not been very harmful. Maybe it's because of the right expectations, or maybe we're just learning more about parasocial relationships in general. But it's something I think about a lot
Hmm.
because I just know that it's considered to be something that's negative and should be avoided. But I don't think it's avoidable anymore. And
Yeah.
two, I just think that we're short selling the positive experience of it. I mean, there are creators I've been watching for a long time have nothing to do with books that have just,
Hmm.
I'm not, I don't think I know them to be clear.
Yeah.
like I'm aware, right?
Yeah.
But there is some sort of level of connection, I guess.
Yeah,
So.
I guess that's what I mean is like literally all we do on YouTube is fostering some form of parasocial relationship.
Mhm.
Like someone commenting on my videos is like kind of doing that. And maybe I'm using this term incorrectly. So I'm like kind of using it very loosely, but I guess for me it's just like community, the like
Mhm.
line between community and parasocial relationship. Um, and like I do think that BookTube has been a really positive community for myself overall. And like I've been really lucky in that I almost never get hate comments. I mean, knock on wood, but like my videos don't get a lot of views, which I kind of like, but I think the ratio of like views to comments is at a pretty good place where
Mhm.
people will watch my videos and like respond to them, and I really love that. And I kind of like, I mean, everyone always wants like more views, and like I wouldn't say no to that, but I kind of like how like bubbling under the surface my videos are.
Yeah, it's like the real ones know it. You know that it's a deep cut for anyone that's watching. Honestly, any of our channels at this point, like
Mhm.
there's just so many things that they could be doing elsewise. And there have been so many comments that have like changed my perspective on books or challenged my perspective in a respectful way that have like really went a long way for me as a reader. And also there's people I just really look forward to seeing their name underneath my videos. It delights me.
Yeah.
McScarfield's one of those people. I mean, he leaves
Oh yeah.
McScarfield leaves these references. I mean, just incredible. And every time I read it, I'm just like, this dude's so much smarter than I am. Like, I don't know why he watches my videos, but I'm glad he does.
Yeah, I get a lot of comments from Max Garfield as well, and I love hearing what he's reading, and he will respond to like what I'm reading and what I'm saying in a really thoughtful way. And that is like, is that a parasocial relationship? I don't know. I think it's just like nice to hear from people.
Yeah.
I love that. This Dracula Flow. Nat is a big Dracula Flow fan, and it's given me brain rot listening to him talking about Dracula Flow.
You mean maybe something like,
No!
I'm getting too much money.
or
I got so much cheese in my pocket.
Oh my god.
They thought I was a fucking calzone.
I literally have a Dracula Flow soundboard.
I can't believe this. This hasn't come up in my trawling of the Chatting with Nuts archives yet. If I had known, I would have thought twice.
I forgot. So I have a problem. I start bits and then I forget them. And there was about 2 weeks. Anytime someone super chatted, I would play one of the Dracula Flows. And I forgot about it completely. I also had a video of Bobby B singing some stupid song. But I actually don't have that capability on this new platform I use. But yeah, it's a real problem. I like start these really good bits and people love them. And then like you need to keep those going. Like that's something people look forward to. And I always do
well, you
terrible.
gotta bring it back.
Anitha, listen to Anitha guilting me. Said, it would be delightful if Jimmy leaves comments on my video, but he never does. So the reason why I don't comment a lot is because I watch YouTube on my television. That's why. I know I'm a boomer.
Screen.
Yeah, I'm a boomer. I watch YouTube on my television. I try to not be on my phone as much as I can. So I can't comment from my television, which is really annoying considering the fact that there's a microphone. Like I should be able to like orate a comment. Like that should not be a problem, but unfortunately it is. Remus said, sounds like Jimmy should start a new video series called Shower Thoughts. And I could film it in the shower. That's a great.
Oh, there's definitely an audience for that.
I've been really flirting with the OnlyFans idea. This might be it. This might be the launch. This is going to be
Only
great.
fantasy.
Yeah, only. That's fantastic.
You should trademark that before someone takes it or Office stream snipes it.
You know what? They can have it. They can have it. I'm sure somebody will pick that up. There's a siren outside of my house.
Uh-oh.
Oh, 5-0. Can you hear it?
Yeah, I can hear it.
That does not happen in my neighborhood. What is going on? It sounds like they're leaving.
Heard the only fantasy.
They
were like, we gotta shut this
too
down.
much aura farming. He has to be stopped. Beltu said my comments today said I'm never coming back to this channel. See, that's what happens.
Thanks for the engagement.
Yeah, that's what happens whenever the videos reach the bigger audiences. I'm good on that. I sometimes get comments on videos that are so old, that are so mean. And I'm like, I haven't even thought about this video in years. And now my only thought of it is this negative interaction. This sucks. Like I've privated videos that tend to like garner like a lot of all my Sanderson videos, I think for Stormlight are gone. Like I took them all down. I was just tired of it.
Yeah, that's too bad.
It is.
See, I've never gotten this.
Well,
none of my
lucky.
videos. I've never been successful on YouTube, so I've never gotten hate comments.
I wouldn't say you've never been successful. I mean, you were in the Frankenstein collab. You were a Wheel of Time official person. I mean, I think when people find you, they realize that this is great. We just need more people to find you. That's all.
Well, I say this. Well, I don't know how often I say this, but I've always thought that like the kind of person who would click a thumbnail with like my face on it, the way that I look, it kind of is its own filter in a way where it's like, oh, this person is like willing and open to listen to a brown woman talking on the internet, and like it just creates its own filter. But I don't know how accurate that is. It could just be
I
that.
think that's
I don't
spot
know.
on. I think that's spot on. And then whoever clicks on my video, and then they're disgusted when I'm not acting into their, their preconceived notions about me looking like a Chad or a dude bro. And that's where I get those are usually those negative comments. I remember whenever I talked about Tahanu and I said it was such an angry feministic book. And I remember getting a comment that was like, feminism, puh. And I was like, brother, you're on the wrong channel. Like you were in the wrong place to leave a comment like that. I promise you. I do think that there's a little bit of a filter there. I think if you did something like a Little Life or like a book that's like very hot for discussion, I mean, I think it's just like, but then you would have to read A Little Life.
My parasocial relationship coming in, I just was watching a reading vlog where you said you never want to talk about that book again. And I was like, I was interested in it because you were talking about it. And I was like, maybe I will read this book. And then your ending was so negative. I was like, okay, I think I'm never going to pick this book up.
I think you should, just so I can hear what you think of it. I would love to see what you think of it. You're the exact type of reader I would like to see read that book. I would be very curious, but it's so long. It is well written, I think. I think like the writing is actually rather good. Anitha said, don't worry, Rid. I will leave a hate comment for you today.
Thank you, Anita. That's what I needed.
Kev, big fan of A Little Life, clearly. Very excited about The Little Life. I'll tell you what, it's been 2 hours on a Friday night. I'm not going to keep you much longer, but I did want to ask you, what is the book you were most excited to read before the year's up? It doesn't have to be a new release. It can be anything. Like what's tickling the back of your brain? Like, read me.
Well, No Life Forsaken, we already talked about. I'm about to read Hamnet by, I forget her name. Is it?
Why does that sound familiar?
It's a movie is coming about around.
Maggie O'Farrell?
Yes. Yeah. And it's about Shakespeare. He had a son named Hamnet who died. And basically it's said that his death inspired Hamlet. So yeah, I'm really excited to read that. Like I said, I started reading a bunch of fantasy when I got back to booktube, and I want to maintain the balance of literary fiction in my reading. So I'm excited for that. Looks like it's going to be a sad book, and as we've established, I like sad, boring books.
I was to say, if you were looking for a boring book, you have found that description is NyQuil. I read the description and I literally was nodding off. I was
like, yeah. So I'm excited about it.
It's going to be a banger. It's going to be an absolute certified slammer. I guarantee you. 5 stars. 5 stars. End of the year list. It's going to be great. Have you read Wolf Hall? I
have. Yeah. I really liked it.
Okay.
Well, okay. Let me say, I did not like it when I finished it, and the more I think about it, I want to go back and read the rest of the series.
Okay, so you want to read on. So I'm about 60% of the way through. I've been on indefinite pauses, I'm sure you know, and it's been calling to me a little bit lately. I've been thinking about going back. I said I was just putting it down until I was in the right mood, and no one believes me. Everyone thinks I DNF'd the thing. It was a finish later type deal, but lately I've been looking at it. It's like right next to my bed. So it's on my book. I have bookshelves in every room, but it's right next to my bed, and I'm like, it's that. And I've been eyeing up. Is it called Authority? The sequel to Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. I always forget.
Oh yeah.
It's like Authority Accepted, and then there's a 4th one or whatever. But I've been really thinking about reading more Vandermeer because I just love Bourne so much. And Annihilation was good. I liked it. But Bourne was incredible. I mean, I think it's one of the better sci-fi books that I've read. I think you would like it. So
I love the movie.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Annihilation movie?
Yeah.
Oh, it is fantastic. And they are adapting Bourne into a movie as well, from what I understand.
Oh,
who knows? It's Hollywood. It could get canceled anytime. But I think a Bourne movie could be a massive hit. Massive hit. Okay, Authority, Acceptance, Absolution. Thank you. So it's Annihilation, Authority, Acceptance, and Absolution. So I've been thinking about reading Authority. he just writes short books, and I love him for that. And they're fun.
Yeah.
They're weird. I like weird. I don't know.
Yeah, I want to read some Vandermeer. He has this fantasy book as well that I want to check out at some point.
What's it? Do you know what it's called?
No, I don't remember. It came out like in 2020.
Vandermeer fantasy book. We're racing. Shrek or Shriek and Afterward? No, that's probably not it. Venice Underground?
Did I make this up?
I think he made it up.
No, I swear there's a book that he wrote that's like a fantasy book.
Is that misinformation coming from Riddbook?
Am I lying?
Are you a liar right now? Like,
no, I'm hallucinating. My AI just hallucinated.
Vandermeer is so good. Try City of Saints and Mad Men, Jimmy. Okay. That sounds interesting.
What are you excited about reading?
So if I had to pick, all right, so obviously No Life Forsaken is on that list. Just in like my immediate future, I think I'm very excited about reading the sequel to Shards of Earth by Adrian Tchaikovsky and that trilogy. I always forget book 2. I know book 3 is called Lords of Uncreation because that's one of the most badass titles of all time. I'm really excited about just seeing where that goes. But if I had to pick like a book that wasn't a sequel, probably I Who Have Never Known Men. I'm going to read it before the end of the year. And also Moths by somebody. It's another Bridger post-apocalyptic recommendation. I'm going to look it up. He said it's a kind of a newer book, but I think that I will get along with it pretty good. It's by Jane Hennigan. And it's a divergent future with thought-provoking feminist slant, perfect for those who love the power the Handmaid's Tales in Vox. So essentially, I mean, this is wild. Mary considers tying her teenage son to the radiator. Is the first line in the pitch.
Wow.
Olivia flees the bloody scalpel of a surgeon as he hunts her through the corridors of A&E. All around the world, men are turning into crazed killers or dying in their sleep as toxic threads find passage on every breath of the wind. Humankind will survive, but only just.
Nice beach read.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, the real feel-good shit that I like. You know, that's my thing. From what I understand, Bridger told me that this book, it might sound like it'd be very one-sided, but it's actually an extraordinary, like, it's very nuanced. And about gender dynamics and kind of what Jane Hennigan's going for. And I really want to try it out. And if I could pick another one, Crypt of the Moon Spider was a novella I read last month. The sequel's coming out in October. I'm really excited about it. Like, really excited.
Well, that's kind of perfect timing for like,
oh yeah,
the so-called spooky season, as they say.
He's nailing it. It is 130 pages, which is, you know, a little much, but I'll squeeze it in, I guess. I think I'm excited about a lot of stuff, but those are the things that are at the top of my head. And I would love to fit in one more Ishiguro before the end of the year, but I don't know. We'll see. Sometimes I get afraid if I read too much of the same author, like I'll become like a broken record, you know?
That's so interesting because I was actually feeling like the opposite, where I read through The Dagger and the Coin like back to back to back. And I think that I have more to say because of that for the series. Like maybe that's like not the same for like authors, but like I think I like reading and binging through a series at this point in my reading. Because I think you get immersed in that author's world. And I feel like you would have more to say about Ishiguro if you read more of him, you know, because you start to pick up on like those threads, like you were talking about, like the memory, that maybe if you read them more, you know, with a lot more space between them, you wouldn't pick up on those threads.
100%. And I will tell you, the things that I feel like are most worthwhile that I say come from reading projects of that sort or reading a lot of the same author. Like I have a lot to say about David Mitchell, Ishiguro, Cormac McCarthy, Robin Hobb. I've read 16 of her books. Whenever I let myself kind of just dive in on an author, but first off, it has to be worth it. Like I'm not just going to read a bunch of books from an author that I think are mid. So one kind of shows you that I think that they're excellent or at least interesting. but I always feel like I have the most to say about that. And those are the ones where I'm like, maybe I should make a video kind of encapsulating my thoughts. And when I finish all of Ishiguro and David Mitchell, I will most likely make a video. And actually, Barbara Kingsolver, I will probably read the rest of her works and hopefully make some sort of video or statement about that. I do.
Do you like a ranking or something like that?
Tier rankings. Tier rankings are so fun.
It's a good way of structuring a video. Like, it is so almost dumb to rank books, but it is such a good way of structuring like your thoughts about the entirety of something.
Oh yeah, and also there's so many books that go under the radar for popular authors. Like for instance, like George R. Martin's short fiction and his horror fiction is fantastic. Like Sand Kings is as good as A Song of Ice and Fire. I really believe that. And now that I've dove into his other stuff, and Windhaven is fabulous. You would love Windhaven, by the way.
I loved Fire and Blood when I read it. It was fantastic. That's the only George R. R. Martin I've read, which I know is kind of bad.
No,
I love Fire and Blood.
I would implore, if I could put one book on your TBR that we talk about tonight, it would actually be Windhaven by Lisa Tuttle and George R. R. Martin. I think it's a fabulous book. It's so good. It's like a collection of novellas that got formed into a novel and co-authoring, and it's fantastic. It has one of my favorite main characters I've read in recent memory, but reading him and kind of seeing things that he was trying to work through that he really nailed in A Song of Ice and Fire is so fascinating to me. And like reoccurring themes and types of characters. And I don't know. I think there's something worthwhile in that. Now, it can also expose a lot of faults in authors, for sure. That's going to happen with anybody. But I think once you recognize those faults and get those out of the way, there's like stuff that's deeper there. And you can almost start to see maybe why this author became an author, which is an awesome connection, I think, to make as a reader. So maybe I should just read only 2 authors a year. That might actually be what I need to do.
Yeah. Well, I think the way that you have your channel structured, it kind of allows you to take a little bit more time because your wrap-ups are they're like bi-weekly, and then you have Chatting with Nuts. So you're not like talking about, you don't have to have like a book to talk about for a Chatting with Nuts. So you can take like the whole month and like binge through a bunch of books by an author and then have your wrap-up just be like that author. Yeah, I don't know. I would find that interesting.
It is, and also it's nice whenever you have these authors in the back of your mind that when it's time or you have some time, some space in the TBR, or you're in a slump, you know who to reach to. Like Percival Everett, absolute automatic pickup for me at this point. Like if I'm feeling a little down, like I'm looking over at him on the shelf, and I'm like, okay, maybe God's Country next, or whatever else, Trees, or some other book by him, and that's a nice feeling to have, to like almost feel like there's something you can pick up on. I know I have a ton of ongoing series, but those almost feel more daunting to dive back into because you got to remember what happened prior and blah, 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 blah. So there is something to be said about reading either a series at once or an author's works. I think it's fun to have those kind of projects.
Yeah, one of the projects I'm doing is I want to read all the Pulitzer Prize winners, which Percival Everett is one, the most recent one.
Very deserved.
Yeah, I'm working slowly on that. Demon Copperhead was part of that project.
Then you'll also read, oh no, why am I forgetting? The Michael Shara book, Killer Angels, the Civil War book. That book is an absolute certified slammer. That book is absurd. 1974 Pulitzer Prize winning historical novel. It is the inspiration for the movie Gettysburg, which is like 7 hours long. And it is one of the better audio experiences that I've had. I did it on audiobook. I started out reading it physically. Someone told me the audiobook was good. I switched to it. It was fantastic. And it's really good. I see why I won a Pulitzer, for sure. I got my father-in-law to read it. And I think it's the first book he's read in many years. And he loved it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I like about the Pulitzer Project is that it's making me read books that I would never read. Like Demon Copperhead, I remember like reading the synopsis for it, and I was like, I'm not super familiar with the Appalachian region. I didn't like grow up close to there, and I've always had this sort of like preconceived notion of what it's like, and that the book deals with that very much head on, and is about like people who are outside the Appalachian region and how they think of it. And it really like made me look inward and be like, yeah, I do kind of look down on these people. And it like genuinely changed my perspective on so many things. So I'm really glad I read it.
That's as good as reading gets right there. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Challenging some preconceived notion, also being entertaining, and then having an emotional aspect. That's why the book's so successful. And also, I mean, the Appalachian region is so interesting considering how old it is. I mean, there's
Mm-hmm.
music that formed in like if you actually want to talk about like culture in America, like the Appalachian culture is very much been there for a long ass time. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of really cool stuff there. I mean, they have their own like mythos essentially. And she doesn't really go into all that necessarily, but she goes into why it is the way it is, some of the realities, some of the stuff that is preconceived that is actually true, but why it happened, and that unfortunately a lot of the preconceived notions in that region comes from things being done to them. And there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people that hurt in those areas, especially like Southern West Virginia and such. And it's only human to find something to sympathize with them with or have empathy for. So, and I say this as someone who's very critical of where I'm from.
Mm-hmm.
I still have like pieces of my heart there. So I think
Yeah.
she did do a really nice job.
Yeah. Definitely.
Oh yeah, the Nickel Boys, The Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay. There's so many good Pulitzer Prize winners. I know people pretend like prizes don't matter, but sometimes they just nail it. Like,
I think the Pulitzer is based because in 2012 they did not award it to anyone. And I think that is unbelievably based because
yeah,
if
that
you
is
have a
awesome.
prize, there needs to be some sort of like baseline for quality. And the fact that they were like, hey, there were just no good books this year
Dude,
is kind of
could you imagine being published in that year?
yeah. And like I think that's actually kind of incredible. It made me like respect them a little bit more because I was like, you know what? Yeah, because like sometimes there aren't going to be books that meet that criteria, that like baseline of quality. And if your prize is just what's the best book that came out this year, that's a different prize than like this is a really good book that is like an incredible masterpiece that says something about American life. And I appreciate the Pulitzers for being specifically American because this is a whole conversation, but I appreciate that they focus on America because that's where I live, and it makes me read like Demon Copperhead specifically made me read about a different kind of America that I'm not familiar with, as opposed to like the Booker Prize, which is a little bit more international.
Yeah.
So that's why I want to do this project is like I'm living here and like I want to learn more about other people who live here and like their stories in a
Hmm.
way.
Yeah. And there's always a story to tell from any kind of lineage or I guess like origin from where
Mhm.
people come from. And I had to look up what the top fiction releases of 2012 were. And I'm going to hit you with them. And I think some people are going to be like, yeah, it makes sense. But there's one on here I'm like, huh. 50 Shades of Grey by E.L.
Mm,
James.
snubbed.
It's snubbed. The Casual Vacancy by J.K. Rowling.
Mm,
The Fault in Our Stars by John Green.
hmm.
And the last one, this is the one that kind of surprised me because I've heard this book is phenomenal. I love the movie Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. Gillian Flynn?
Yeah.
Gillian.
Yeah. I think I see why they didn't nominate Gone Girl. I think Gone they don't tend to do genre fiction. Like their
Mm,
focus is like specifically like it has to be like about an American like story. It's like a American people and stories.
mm-hmm.
So I see why they didn't do Gone Girl. I do love Gone Girl though. It's a great book.
Man Called Ove by Frederick Bachman, but that's not in America. Shadow and Bone by Lee Bardugo. Insurgent, Divergent #2, and the first
Mm.
book of Throne of Glass was released in
Oh
2012 as
wow.
well. Obviously,
That's
these are
the
not,
only.
yeah, these aren't Pulitzer bait. So big time for like YA fantasy, and then 50 Shades of Grey. I mean, 50 Shades of Grey is clearly massive. Um, Rick Riordan's Heroes of Olympus #3 is also in there.
Wow.
The Raven Cycle, book 1.
Oh, I do love the Raven Cycle.
I know you
Though
do.
that's one of those things where I went back and read it and I was like, this is the first 2 books are as good as I remember them, but the last 2 books are not as good, unfortunately.
Do you think I
But
would like it?
I think you would. I think you would actually. And I think it's because they do take place in Western Virginia or West Virginia.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Maggie Stiefvater is from West Virginia, and the books are very much a love letter to West Virginia. And it's the same thing as Demon Copperhead, actually, where she deals with like the sort of rougher side of that. She deals very head on with class, because the central premise is that there is this private school called Aglian Bee Academy, and so there's these guys who are really rich prep school students who go to this school, and then there's the people who live in the town who are just like normal people. And one of the students is a scholarship kid who comes from he lives in a trailer park and he's there on scholarship, and it's like about the tensions between him and his friends who are uber wealthy. And the main character Blue, her parents are psychics, and it's really beautiful, like magic. And I'm doing such a bad job of describing it, but
No, it sounds
I think
interesting.
you would like it. And I think the first 2 books are incredible. The last 2 books are not as good, but I think that you would appreciate them. And they go by really quickly. Like they're YA, but her writing is beautiful.
Okay. Sold. I'm sold. I'm putting it in the
Yay.
cart. It's in the cart. You got me.
I'll read Windhaven and you can read The Raven Cycle.
Okay. Deal. That there are 4 books in my cart. What was I doing? This must be the last time I was drinking. This is horrible. I will order that in Albatross. You got me. Albatross is very expensive though. What are we doing here? What are we doing?
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, it's like $23 for a paperback. What are we doing?
I feel bad recommending it because I haven't read it, but it's golf and it's, I think you would like it based on that.
I think I would like it. I trust your opinion of a book you have not read yet. Very much. Comrade Nerd said 2 more episodes until we hit number 100 of CW, and he plans to do anything to celebrate milestone. Yes. Just have to make sure everything comes together for it. I most likely will not do that 100 episode until my plans come together. So there could be a little delay depending on scheduling, but yes, there is definitely kind of a theme I want to go with 100. So stay tuned. Keep your eyes on this space. I hate it. Oh God. Eyes on this space has to be one of the worst terms ever created on the internet. I absolutely hate it. It's so bad.
Watch this space.
Also, you did sell that series pretty well. At least book 1.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
I think it's going to be awesome. Rid, I want to thank you so much for coming on and giving me a Friday night. I know there's about a zillion other things you could do. So for you to not only spend it here right now, but you also spend a lot of times watching it live too, which I very much appreciate. I'm just very happy that you're back, but I'm even more happy that I got an opportunity to talk to you for like almost 3 hours. It feels good to catch up.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. This was amazing. And thank you to everyone in the chat.
Where would you say people could find you? Where's the easiest place for them to find you?
YouTube, I guess, at Riddbook. That's me. And I'm on Instagram as well. I changed all my handles to be at Riddbook. So if I'm on somewhere, it'll be under that.
Yes. And also, you can just check down in the description. I have it linked twice. I've tagged the channel twice, so you can go down there and definitely subscribe to Rid. She does a phenomenal job with her essay videos and always brings a great perspective. Is always well articulated, and it's just overall passing the vibe check, in my opinion. So do the thing.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Hit the subscribe. Of course, let's rank fantasy tropes soon. I think that's a good.
Yes.
We
Let's
got to
do it.
revisit it. It'll be brand new because nobody remembers it anyways, right? So I didn't remember doing it, so it'll be great.
Yeah.
We could even look of how it changed
Yeah, we should do that. We shouldn't don't watch it until
I
we
won't
do
watch
the.
it.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh no, now I feel like I need to make it the same or I'll look like a fraud.
No, it's character development.
I like that. I like that. Character development. That's what this whole channel has been for the last 5 years. All right, folks. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Go check out Red's channel, and we'll be back in 2 weeks, hopefully with another returning guest that hasn't been on the channel in a very long time. I got to make sure it works out, but I just always appreciate everyone checking it out, whether it's live or after the fact. If it's after the fact, please leave a comment. Let us know if you're going to read Albatross with me, a golf book. I doubt anyone's going to read that with me, but maybe. Who knows? You can hit like or dislike, whichever one you prefer. You can subscribe. I would love to have you here for the long haul. And there's a Patreon in the description. It's optional, but always appreciate it. Until we see you next time, be good, be safe, and remember to always keep turning the page.